Chrisana14, no, I do not know how many times ZP's eyebrows have been under fire, but it is a very high number, and it will continue to be an even higher number as we go through the night shift, and inevitably he does wax them off, maybe for charity one day. Welcome back, everyone, to the night shift as we're number 45 weeks of shows, but it's been longer than that as we've been together as a company and been loving it every single week, and we continue to love it as we go forward. And moving on forward, we have Buff Majors taking on Abrahams here in our defending champion, albeit though, damn, this last weekend they weren't able to defend their title in the R1 tourney, losing 3-2 to Abrahams.
Sounds like a banger. I didn't manage to catch that one, but you know what, Jason, does it even matter if it wasn't on the night shift? Was it even important?
I mean, it does set a precedent, but the fact that it was done in a reverse sweep is like, that's a powerful sort of mental game moment, because that's a big L in the Buff Enjoyers column, right? To have lost 3 straight when you're up 2-0 in the series, feels like you should be able to close it out. Sets the tone, I think, for this match. It also maybe allows Buff Enjoyers to say, look, we should have closed this one out. We should have won. Maybe we like lost steam, lost momentum. Playing those long best of 5s can be pretty crazy in a game like Deadlock. And then, of course, now you've got a new patch on top of it. So throw all your predictions out the window. This one is too close to call.
I will say it was definitely a relevant result. However, their ban system is different than ours. They do 3 bans on each side, so they have 6 bans total, and we have 4. So I think that does change a little bit when it comes to the drafting phase of like how you approach it and how you actually do try to get what you want to play. But before we head into the match here, let's take a quick look here at Buff Enjoyers roster, though. You will notice something a little bit different. Hoot is going to be subbing out today, and Zergy's subbing in? No, Demov is actually to be subbing in for the team in favor of Hoot's position, who cannot be here this week. So this is going to be interesting. We've wanted to see, you know, potentially Demov back in this roster, basically creating the old Buff Enjoyers. Cosmetic will also get an upgrade to his Mina, of course, as I believe that's Super TF, if I'm not mistaken, gentlemen. I almost didn't notice it because it was so well done.
That one slipped under the radar. It slipped under the radar for me. But yeah, I mean, adding Demov to this team is pretty awesome. There's very few players who I'd be able to say, hey, look, this guy can sub in for Hoot, and you feel like the team is going to be just as good. I think it does hurt to have the sub in, if only just because it's a change, right? And it's just like, you know, a different person. The communication can be kind of affected by that. So maybe Buff Enjoyers not in exactly their strongest form, but a player as good as Demov, I'd give him a lot of trust. And obviously so do the Buff Enjoyers when it comes to a new patch, figuring out the game. I feel like Demov's the person you want in that spot. And finally, he is in fact subbing in.
They tried so hard and got so far, and I thought in the end they were going to give up, but they did sort it out here. There we go. Demov coming through. But Jake, you're giving very, very valid points. I think Hoot and Demov were just very interchangeable in the past, and very, I mean, the thing is, they did have very specific roles they put in the team, but the hero pool between the two, it's so similar that, Dan, it's sometimes eerie, and I think they're the same person.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I can see the logic behind that one. Do they perform as well as each other, though, Jason? Do you feel like it's that close?
I would say probably. I think Demov, we said, is probably one of the most consistent players, the most consistent player we've seen in EU when it comes to Deadlock, and probably in the world when it comes to Deadlock. But I think Hoot is right there up there, maybe at second place. And honestly, I'm still looking at this cosmetical, and I'm just, it's like perfect. I can't even tell the difference between Mina and Super TF. Like, whoever helped him with this cosplay did a phenomenal job. Also, I think my wife might want that purse. So if Super TF, you can send that on over to Italy, I would be appreciated. But as we go into this one, gentlemen, I mean, this team, they're star-studded. Even more star-studded now, having the support of Super TF. I don't know what really can take them down. And I think, you know, Dan, you brought up before, does that, you know, best of 5 really count? I think it does have some validity, but I think it also pushes Buff Enjoyers to work even harder.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned previously, I do think that there is a lot to having or creating like a psychological wall against you when a team just can't quite ever seem to beat you. And I feel like Buff Enjoyers were getting close to putting that Abrahams into that kind of mental place, I suppose. So it's definitely really nice to get a win. And I think also what's interesting is you know, in a best of 5 in Deadlock is so interesting because, you know, draft to draft, you're picking up a lot more information about the other team. And so, you know, stretching it across to a best of 5, I mean, best of 5, obviously you're playing more, so it is such a legit win. But to reverse sweep it in that way, like Jake said, is really powerful. And in just, you're winning in the most confidence producing fashion. So That's really exciting, actually. But of course, you know, I would also say at the same time, we've got a new meta that's developing. Buff and Joyous, to me, are probably the best team in terms of dealing with a new meta. So I'm curious to see what their take is.
All right, let's take a look at their opponents here on the other side. We just saw them participate and saw them slay, as Super TF did, especially when it comes to Together in particular on the Shiv. I mean, honestly, like, this team, I think we talk a lot about how, you know, in our opinion, Buffingers are probably the best team in the world. But I still feel like Abrahams are like a close second behind them, but somehow Buffingers do seem to eke them out. I'm curious, Jake, in your opinion, what do you think like the gap is between Abrahams and Buffingers? If you were to give it like a percent, right? If Buffingers is like 100%, where would you say Abrahams are behind them? Because I'm curious in your thoughts of like how close these two teams actually are.
I think like between 0 and 5%. I mean, I think it's a very small gap between these teams, even though Buff and Joris they've enjoyed a recent run of success over Abrahams as an opponent. Abrahams, I think they're probably one of the winningest teams in Deadlock's history. Even when they've had to make roster changes, they've kept, I think, the same core of players and continued to grow that and continued to show strong results. They've been one of the most consistent teams in the history of the game here, especially in Europe. And, you know, I think although Buff and Jars may be on top right now, I just have some doubt that that's going to last that long with competition like Abraham's nipping at their heels, especially now in a moment where, hey, maybe these big team fights, the early game aggression could be rewarded more heavily. That could be enough to put Abraham's over the top. But as you mentioned, you know, the new patch, you'd got to give a lot of credit to somebody like Lightbringer in terms of being able to theory craft and find the best way to approach, even when the game changes so radically and so quickly. So for Abrahams, they got their work cut out for them at this moment off the new patch, but I would never count them out just because of the success of all these players and their individual strength just put on display in that last game.
All right, well, hopefully we can head to the draft soon here because this is going to be interesting between these two teams. Obviously, talking about like cutting edge meta, I honestly think I can confidently say that I think Abrahams do adapt quicker to metas, like to big shifts in the meta. But Buff Enjoyers do have a more solid control of it over the long term and are able to, I think abuse it isn't necessarily the right word, but are able to just kind of run with it a lot easier than other teams. Also, a big shout out here to Durango for the 10 gifted we just had dropped in chat. Big thank you, big love to you for all the support you're giving us here on the night shift. But the pick bans have started here in Abrahams. We'll be taking first pick here, Dan. And as the first ban comes on in, we're going to find out, is Holiday still prioed here between these teams?
What was I thinking?
Of course.
Pocket. But I would agree that Holiday should surely catch a ban. Still really ridiculous, even after the patch. I feel like you could have probably nerfed him more. But honestly, Holiday's was so wrecked for so long that maybe Yoshi was reluctant to just, you know, not allow her to have that spotlight still for a little bit longer.
I think this might be a hot take, considering I think a lot of people look at Holiday and they think it's like very easy to do the barrel spam, so the character should be heavily nerfed. But I do think Holiday in general, her overall kit is actually pretty high skill, and so she kind of suffers from a problem of, you know, you're so good if you have insane movement and really good aim to hit the lassos consistently, you can be so powerful, and yet, you know, in any lower level of play where people just are going to be missing their barrels, their movement isn't that good with the jump pads, you know, they're missing lassos, then Holiday can feel like really terrible and really weak. So I think she's kind of challenging to balance, but Abrahams let her go past the first pick, so clearly she's not that problematic if she's going, you know, deeper into the draft in this one.
Yeah, and we're actually getting the same first picks, Jason, as last time. I mean, Mirage and Billy in Europe, looks like these are still like very, very highly sought after. So curious to see if Buff Enjoyers is going to detract too much from what we saw from the last game. But the Viscous pickups showing that the nerf to Splatter really didn't matter at all in terms of how Viscous functions for the core. Because Buff Enjoyers have always had Viscous, I think, be a really important part of their core.
Damn, I got really excited. I saw Viscous and I was like, wait, Demov subbing. Could we see Demov Viscous for the first time in forever? And then I remembered probably gonna be Vraic. So probably not gonna happen. But we will see Shiv come back in for Abrahams. I do wonder, will it be a together Shiv? Because normally I would say when we see Shiv, it's a Sonic Sniper on Infernus, but I don't know if Infernus is gonna be necessarily a top 3 worthy pick for them. And they do round it out with the Holiday. I think, Jake, this puts Buffingers in a precarious position because now you almost need to lock in a Bebop before the turn of bans if you want to have some sort of pick.
Yeah, I don't know if they're too worried, right? Because you could get Bebop or Paradox, I feel like, and be okay with it. Even though we haven't seen Paradox so much lately, I don't think she's bad. I like that Buff Enjoyers snatch up the Infernus here, but I do think Viscous is going to be great in this draft. I mean, we talked about how much Mirage is a hero who's invested into debuffing the opponents more so than really hard carrying, and having the reliable Purge on a cooldown when Cube is maxed out, it's going to be really helpful, which by the time you get to the late game, you're definitely going to have that unlocked. Buff Enjoyers ban out the Vindicta, which is actually pretty interesting, suggesting, hey, maybe they think Holiday, Shiv, the aggression these characters can bring could be pretty threatening to have a Vin behind them.
But they're kind of hitting Saint's pool a little bit here, though, as well with the Vindicta ban. Does that mean we're going to see an Abrams picked up for Saint going forward? Is that going to be like a Rem fallback for him?
By the way, was
really
Abrams
interesting draft.
uncontested in the last game? I believe he was, right?
Yeah,
no
was,
one went for him, which is, that's, I mean, I thought the changes were, the nerf is real, but not that bad. But he was a top tier pick before, like pretty reliably being in almost every game. Maybe looking to get ignored once again, although you might be right. Maybe that's the perfect final pick for somebody like Saint on Abraham.
Well, will Abrahams pick up Rem? I really wonder if teams are going to be prioritizing Rem any more than previous, but no, there's a Bebop, a steal of Bebop, actually. So that kind of forces Buff Enjoyers to pick up a Paradox if they want to go for the pick. Which maybe they won't.
Demos played Paradox, if I'm not mistaken. So it's in his wheelhouse, though I'm expecting Infernus to probably be on Zergy. He's been playing a lot of Infernus lately over on his stream. And then maybe Demob on the Geist, but there's the Rem coming for Saints. So yeah, I think this is like one of the first times, Dan, we've actually seen teams focus on Saints hero pool a bit here to force him on something else, though he's still an exceptional Rem player. I would still put him up as probably one of the best in the world as well.
My bow is yours.
And GT, despite some of the nerfs coming in, Buff Enjoyers think, hey, we can still make it work. We can still push the tempo. And they do have a lot of spirit nuking, but I think if Rem gets those little helpers maxed out, I'm curious if that's a direction that he'll want to go this game, because there's a lot of incoming spirit damage from Viscous, Infernus, and GT that could be mitigated. And finish with Mina. So adding on to the spirit damage, but I think Mina has been buffed pretty. I do.
Wait, was that Mina picked again? Did we see Mina picked again? I think that last pick was wrong. I don't know if production can fix that. Didn't really expect the Thanos to come on in here and in the face. Oh my God. Oh, we need more people cosplaying, because then we just fill all 6 to 12 of these slots with cosplays.
Every single hero in Deadlock we get a cosplay image for. That'd
Man, give me like a Tim the Tatman Shiv or something. Like I'm all down for that. Give me like a Shroud.
I want the Tim the Tatman in a green morph suit Viscous. That I feel like I need that in my life.
He is big enough. He is big enough, so that does work out. But yeah, so we have Wraith as the final pick coming in for Abrahams here, Dan. Interesting pick lineup for them. I mean, they have 2 picks and a lot of damage to back it up with.
Yeah, Wraith is interesting because Wraith has, I think, lost perceived value, I think, over time. I don't think that people were picking Wraith quite as much. I think, again, it's kind of weird because Wraith was unpicked for so long, and then we saw Zergy starting to pick it, OC starting to make it look really good, and then it just started to be a little less popular again. But yeah, Venator's banned, and you don't have too many M1 options. Warden, got hit by some of the nerfs as well. Maybe Warden would have otherwise been something Abrahams would have looked towards here, but it's going to be Wraith. So I guess it's not bad.
I think Wraith actually kind of fits well in this game. I mean, I don't think she's necessarily the strongest hero at the moment, but both GT and Mina should be really vulnerable to getting telekinesis and locked down for a few seconds. Like, neither has the HP to tank through that for any length of time, and both are vulnerable to like the hard stuns and control that deny you from popping movement abilities just after. So I actually like Wraith finding as the final pick here. I think this could be pretty strong this game, though the cube save could kind of be the counter to that when Viscous is in the fights.
Big thank you to Solomon here for his 11-month resub. Our producer, who's clearly having a little bit too easy of a time here on the show, that he can resub in the middle of a draft phase. But again, I mean, coming into this one again, I'm just gonna ask you the hard-hitting question, right? Because we haven't really seen Mina that often lately, and we've seen some buffs in this last minor patch. Cosmetical, we've seen be a phenomenal Mina. But the thing is, there's Greytown and there's Mina being picked here, so I don't know which way I'm leaning towards of who's going to be on who necessarily. There's a lot of like choices and decisions to be made here. Like Obi-Kim, who's Obi-Kim going to be playing? I mean, I guess I don't know. It's not going to be Viscous. That's going to be Rig, right? I'm honestly like torn on who's on who here.
Yeah, I mean, Obi-Kim, I think you're right. It probably has the most interesting question asked of him. I mean, there's just a lot of cores on the Buff and Jar side. You could argue that 5 of their 6 heroes are like farm heavy damage dealing cores, and it really is just the Viscous to kind of enable them. Where on the opposite side, you could see like Holiday, Rem, and Bebop kind of all a little bit in the enabler role. So definitely different philosophies on the game right now being showcased. But Buff Enjoyers, we'll see if their read ends up being right as the defending champs in this one.
Well, gentlemen, I have seen who is on who, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'm going to let us throw it into game here to kick things off in the first match of this best of 3 between Buff Enjoyers and Abrahams. Dan and Jake, take it away.
It's kind of interesting, Jake. You know, I was looking at the lineup of Buff Enjoyers, and it feels very heavy on spirit damage, like very like spirit lopsided.
Yeah. Rem is going to do God's work in this game without like maxed out little helpers. I mean, right, the base resist has been nerfed, but when you max them out, the resist is pretty crazy. It's almost like giving people the Spirit Resilience 3200 item just on additional to whatever they have. So I feel like if Rem gets farmed this game, the mitigation is going to be crazy. It's not a stat that's easy to track, but it you know, the impact of it, I think, is very much felt in a fight.
I'm actually kind of curious which way you land, because I actually prefer Abraham's draft. I actually think Abraham's draft is very, very nice, but you know, I know Buff Enjoyers are going to play their draft well, but like, do you have a draft that's preferred?
I agree with you, actually. I kind of like the Abraham's draft more. But Buff Enjoyers have been a team that proves me wrong a lot when it comes to unconventional drafts. So I'm like, I'm hesitant to trust my own read, but I will say the eye test, like you said, like Holiday has been nerfed a little bit, but still think the character is quite good. And I think there's a few heroes here on the Buff Enjoyer side who are going to be super vulnerable to lassos, to hooks, to wraith ults, to any kind of initiation. Like Mina and Billy and Viscous, I'm like, okay, they can kind of play their way out of it. Maybe Zerga can stand up and fight, but Infernus getting like hard lockdown, same for Grey Talon, like that's kind of a death sentence for these characters. And that's a lot of work for Viscous to do on the saves, right? There's only 1 cube available.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, all the setup pieces. Yeah, like you're saying, like lasso, hook, and telekinesis, and nap time as well. I mean, there's a lot of problems for these squishies to deal with on the Buff Enjoyer side. So it'll be an interesting dynamic as we get started off here. Things looking relatively even across all lanes at the moment, but let's talk about the tempo then. The early tempo game. Do you feel like these, you know, one of these lane setups is going to be better than the other team, or do you feel like it's gonna kind of well paired across the board?
I will say, despite maybe some of the greed in like a late game sense in the Buff Enjoyers draft, given like that they have just a lot of heroes that are more focused on dealing damage than setting up their teammates, I do think the lanes look pretty good. Like I think GT is a pretty strong laner. You know, Mina and Furnace can both do a lot of damage in the laning phase, and so I don't think, at least for me personally, that their weakness as a comp is going to be felt. I think it's the mid game where I'm worried of them. Like when the ultimates come online, you know, who's, I guess the Billy setting up team fights for Buff Enjoyers and maybe Viscous to assist as well. But the pickoffs that can kind of come as rotations start to become a factor as ults come online, you know, the 5 to 10 minute marks. That's where I feel like Abrahams are going to be maybe at their strongest and maybe need to develop some kind of a lead.
All right, well, I guess we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be really interesting, too, to see together on Shiv once again. Making the Shiv stocks rise, perhaps. I'm kind of enjoying like the new playstyle. I mean, I felt like the previous Shiv playstyle was becoming pretty stale. You know, we're just like maxing knives and just... I felt like just like the tempo of it and the scaling of it, as, you know, into the game was just a lot slower. And I think there's a lot more explosiveness to this. So I like that dynamism. I think it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, I think Together has been pretty focused on damage with this build. Does miss a slice and dice, and so Billy's going to waste no time in getting right back into the trade. Gets a cube as well to dodge that alt fire blast. But, I mean, Rem Shiv, there's a ton of sustain, a ton of aggression in this lane, especially with that new melee lifesteal build. So you can see Listic playing quite conservatively, staying under tower, making sure that if Together wants to connect that slice and dice, he's going to expose himself to some Guardian damage, which honestly hurts way worse than you would think at this early in the game. You really can't take winning trades under the opponent's Guardian.
Nice pressure coming in again. Just so much threat. There it is, connecting the slice and dice. Getting an easy connection with the knives afterwards. And Billy actually in some trouble. In quite a bit of trouble there, getting ticked down by the knife. I think the knife wore off in just the last second, but slice and dice up onto the rooftop to see maybe there's a position to keep that pressure and maybe find that kill. But I mean, looks like Listic will get out to base, but I mean, it's clear dominance in this lane.
Yeah, that kills Not going to come through, but the damage is done, right? Listic has to take a base reset quite early in the game. Still, Shiv and Rim are very aggressively postured for quite some time. I mean, Shiv's going to have 1600 to deploy in the buy, but oh, those Mirage procs. And Mirage is kind of devastating the mid lane right now. I mean, it looks like both Cosmetical and Zergy have to take a base trip at the same time. The Mystic shot from Mirage is just too threatening. So there's going to be creep wave crashing on the lane. And they're going to miss creeps in the mid lane, which starts to add up. A lot of tower damage is additionally going to come in. Maybe the fortunes, though, can be changed by Demob in the side lane. The sub called upon in the team's moment of need. No Sanguine's going to take the damage from those bats. And Taz punishes Obikim for trying to help.
Scary. I mean, you can see why Shiv's prioritized. You can see why Mirage is prioritized. We're gonna get the both buffs picked up by Abrahams. Hey man, maybe it's the era of the Abrahams. Looking like they're starting off pretty strong here. Early days though. But the chase down.
Oh, he's in trouble here. I think he's gonna get run down. Connection comes in on the staircase. Some nice movement from Sonya. But maybe just one last shot, and Geist won't be able to find it. So smooth moves from Sonya, pulls a lot of attention, and walks away with the gun buff. Double buffs, and especially the spear buff to Empty Dreams, I think feels amazing at this moment in the lane on Mirage.
I think Empty Dreams got the casting buff in the last game too on the Mirage for the first one. So yeah, really having a good time on Mirage. So early days definitely looks good for Abrahams in some of these lanes. The Shiv lane, the mid lane. And that's scary too, because once Holiday gets unlocked from the mid lane, I mean, the ganks that are possible and the pressure that's possible is pretty scary. And the dive ability, I think, with the new Shiv is again, even stronger than it used to be, I feel like. So, and also you got Rem for backup for the dives too. So there is an enormous amount of, I think, tempo threat that Buff Enjoyers will have to be wary of going into this 10-minute mark.
Wow, monster rounds really paying off. Not always an item that gets bought on Mirage, but Empty Dreams, really good choice from this time. Helps him take that T1 Guardian, the 6-minute mark. And he's off to a heck of a start. Going to be going towards that Healbane next. It's going to be tough for just about anybody to stand in lane against Mirage. Curious to see if Empty Dreams sticks around mid or maybe wants to throw his weight around in a side lane, trying to clean up one of those towers. But definitely advantage Abrahams right now. Buff Enjoyers on the defensive, and I think earlier than they would have liked to be.
Yeah, just have to manage the pressure effectively. Make sure you're not taking bad trades. Sonya Sniper getting somewhat ambitious there, but of course so much space here around the Guardian itself. That's going to get taken out pretty easily. And look at the differential on souls right now. And I feel like, you know, what's good from Buff Enjoyers is they haven't given up too many kills, but at the same time, they're getting sent back to base in a lot of these cases, and they're just getting heavily pressured on two lanes. Mid and the left side lane went extremely well for Abrahams.
Okay, that was a little scary close. The lasso ended like just before Zergy went down. Maybe just couldn't quite get in range for the health swap. Would have been a game changer there, but doesn't get it off this time. Now Infernus starting to get active, diving in quite deep. Wants to get a punish onto Taz, who's looking aggressively for the hooks, but Mirage is here, assisting with the Wraith. I think there's just too much power. Obikim bites off more than he can chew and is going to get run down. Another kill for Empty Dreams, who's just absolutely max HP, full resources, 30 seconds to Sinner spawning. And this kind of a lead this early means even the Sinners are going to be in serious jeopardy here. And Abraham's maybe wanting more in this fight as well. Sleep setup. They may chase for deeper kills onto this Billy. The execute threshold is there, and the connection is good. GT is going to burn. Maybe needs to get this kill, lest the fight come back the other way, but it seems like the bloodletting damage is just going to be too much. Overwhelms him, and just one stack found off the kill.
Empty Dreams is 7.6k. That's kind of a nasty start to be up against. Mid, dealing with the mid pressure at the moment. And this Guardian is not really... Like, no one seems interested in defending it, so that's going to be a win for Buff Enjoyers.
Yeah, I think Abraham's tried to get some kills in the mid lane, but they couldn't actually find any. That's just being able to escape out of that engagement. Looks like Vrake makes it back to base for a full heal. The goo ball pulling some of the attention. That play alone gets Buff Enjoyers some of the way back into this game. Still a 5k soul lead, 6k now before the 10-minute mark. So this is a kind of a scary moment. Doubles considering to be stolen away here. Billy goes for the chain to try and turn some kind of a fight around, but Mirage is here throwing his weight around in this fight. Cube is now out, so no more saves to be found, and it looks like it was turning into a big engagement for those doubles.
Yeah, I love the aggression you were mentioning this, that maybe the Sinners will be under threat. The headshot coming in there for some extra damage and really making this invade quite problematic for Buff Enjoyers to deal with. I feel like they've definitely been doing a decent job, but there's still more threat. You can see the aggression still there. You've got Arzo looking for that Sinners, and they're going to get it. So Abraham's, really looking to take full advantage, but trying to walk the tightrope at the same time, not overextend.
Empty Dreams really deep in enemy territory. There's 4 Buff Enjoyers players here, and yeah, he's going to head home now, but has done a lot just with his presence here on Mirage. Like pulling 4 players to clear doubles. I mean, it's such a big reward when you're able to cash it in, but to have to bring 4 players to do so, it mitigates some of the economy gain you do find as Abraham's able to split, farm jungle camps elsewhere on the map, do things a little bit more efficiently. Seems like buffs this time are going to go 1-to-1, see what each team rolls. Billy would love a gun or a vitality. He's going to get a movement, which is not a bad thing, but 100 seconds to chain gang, it's maybe hard for him to really leverage that.
There we go. Getting aggressive. That tornado to open things up, and I don't think there's an escape here for Zergy. Ooh, gets caught. That's a nasty bag to drop. What was that, 561? That's definitely a decent amount at this time of the game. And more kills to be had as well. And gets collected as well. And man, I mean, it started with the left and right middle lane dominance from Abrahams, and they just really are not letting go. The pressure continues, and they're taking full advantage of the strength, especially from Empty Dreams, who is so far ahead on Mirage, which I feel like is unusual to see this far ahead of a Mirage at this time in the game.
Yeah, uncontested dunk now. It's going to be some extra cash in the pocket for Taz. Quite nice for Bebop in the early game. Holiday also getting pretty comfortable from a farm perspective, but I think you're right. I mean, Empty Dreams is putting on ridiculous pressure. Even has Shiv assisting here. Potential rundown being found. It will be connected onto Listic. Procs come in. Mirage is just going to keep putting pressure on this tower. Doesn't want to stick around for the finish. That's not realistic at this moment, but it's very dangerous. Anyone who comes here to the lane just takes a losing trade, especially with the vitality buff. Mirage is really happy to trade those HP.
Jake, I already feel like you have to ban Mirage in the next game. I just don't think that you can allow this to happen. I think the performance from Empty Dreams in the early laning phase. I mean, this is the thing about Mirage, like the Scarab play. If you're really good at just how you play that laning phase, you're very hard to deal with, and you can get a much more stable, just healing output, and just whilst you're also putting on the damage pretty immensely. And Empty Dreams is seemingly quite consistent on this, so it does seem to be a real threat. There's a reason why they're picking it first in the first slot, both games.
By the way, we've not talked about Arzo at all this game, which I think as a Wraith is exactly what you want. He's just been quietly farming up a storm, has taken the soul lead away from Empty Dreams now, and is maybe ready to be a key impact player as gets early cap time on this objective. Taz is being run down potentially on the Bebop, chooses to try to live, getting back to his teammates, might live to regret it as the enemy team comes forward, but the Rift is just hold on. Secured by Buff Enjoyers. There's not enough players maybe here as Empty Dreams elects instead to go for a push on the other side Walker, which I don't know that is even going to be successful. So a big fight back for Buff Enjoyers, and the super minions are crashing through the Guardian, and maybe more to be had, although the AoE spam is eventually going to clean them.
Man, they're bigger than Shiv. These guys.
And Empty Dreams goes down too, trying to push that other side Walker. What a comeback fight from Buff Enjoyers, getting their cake and eating it too. They're right back in this game now.
Yeah, massive plays to get them back in for sure. And that's definitely going to keep Abrahams pretty honest here. And like he said, I feel like we're getting into the perfect spot for Arzo, where Arzo is going to start to really improve the farming speed. And if you have a high farming speed and your teammates are keeping the pressure like really hard on the opponents, no one is there to stop you from farming. So that's like the most dangerous place that Buff Enjoyers could find the Wraith on the other side of the competition. So it's going to be very problematic if they allow it to continue, but they'll be in a position to start putting the pressure back on, correct the macro game significantly, because now they can force respect. There's not as much of a stat check anymore. Although
Lasso found. Connection coming in, trying to bring player in for some follow-up damage, and there will be plenty. Obikim finds himself in the wrong neighborhood. Finish kill for Sonya.
I will say that, Jake, Listic's kind of far behind on the farm on Billy at the moment. It's definitely recoverable. Of course, we'll have to see if that's a possibility, but if you're behind on Billy, I mean, it just feels kind of rough because you can't abuse the health bonus as much. The damage output is not quite as much.
Oh my god, the splatter from Vrake. I think that hits him 4 or 5 times. Empty Dream just evaporates. The damage more than enough here from the Viscous to assist that Billy kill. And speaking of comeback kills, right? That kill really gets Listic back into the running. Ooh, and the hook goes just barely wide, but together still has enough. Finish off the...
And again, that sucks for Listic. You know, it's just kind of struggling this game to stay super relevant, but... Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I guess
like
you can
that
use Killing Blow to
efficient farming with the extra use of Killing Blow. I like that a lot.
That makes sense. Oh, concussive combustion covered into
Nice
a
movement.
lockdown Taz. Able to block it with the truck. Oh, that might actually be killing it here. Oberkim goes down.
I mean, Obakim, I hate to say it, but he's kind of getting owned here on the Infernus. He is on the struggle bus this game in a very big way. Buff spawning in a few seconds. Wraith would love a gun or a spirit buff here. Could be a perfect moment to really bring her timing onto the map, and it will be a gun buff. I think that's the best role here possible for Wraith. Although, I mean, I wonder if she takes it into the jungle and continues to farm for a later timing, or decides that the time is now. Definitely expecting that next Rift fight to be a pretty crucial one in this game.
Yeah, we're back to Taz just getting every single urn to deliver. So that's
Very deep dive with
fun for
sleep.
Taz.
Like, I don't know about this dive. That's so far past the wave, under the walker. And yeah, together you're committing on it too. I think there's going to be a punish coming in for buff enjoyers here. Infernus happy to trade with his old foe Shiv, but Shiv maybe with enough mobility to just slip his way out of there. Rem to make sure he's stabilizing the heal. Oh, comes in. Nice punish here from the Bebop, is just dominating Cosmetical, who just does not have the HP to take a trade under Walker like this. They will get the Walker down, but a nice... Is the lift actually connected onto Mina? No, she may have batted that one. And that's going to be big. Getting one kill for the Walker doesn't feel too bad. If you found the second on a Demov, I think you'd be quite happy on the Abraham side. Maybe they still will anyway. Together, wants to find this finish. Mina, though, too much mobility, is going to get out.
Good presence here from Abraham's pretty deep on the left side of the map. Zergy, the one getting a lot of the farm, the solo farm at the moment for buff enjoyers. So, if Obakim's going to be a bit behind. I mean, that's still somewhat expected. Demov and Zergy looking quite strong. Another thing, though, to mention, just like checking on the farm there, Talon as well, another hero that, you kind of want to see being a bit more farmed than currently Cosmetical finds himself. Cosmetical is the iconic Grey Talon player as well, I think it's fair to say, in Europe.
Yeah, definitely one of the best. But it's the nature of this comp, right? They're just... Who's starting the fights? It's felt like it's Billy and Infernus, which, while it's not terrible, Infernus has been struggling in this game too. I mean, the economy doesn't show it. I think Obakim has done pretty well, but you can see it in the build, right? He's got a lot of utility, a lot of tankiness, because in this game, I think Infernus is going to be expected to be one of the first into the fight. Doesn't always feel good. If you can get the concussive combustion off, I think it does work pretty well, but if you just get insta-bursted or caught by lasso, you're just not going to be able to get that spell off. Another hook found, this time onto Cosmetical. The counterspell blocks a lot, but a second follow-up hook needs a rescue to survive, but that may just not be enough. Even the Q, but he's in such contested territory. Even Wraith now being involved in the fight. Arzo bringing this gun buff into the engagement. Obakim responds in kind, though, and the roll-through comes back in. Drake wants another bite at the apple, another chance to maybe get a counter kill, but instead he'll have to give his life away for it. Arzo still healthy, but the fight continues on now. Billy coming in with the re-engage. Wraith maybe thinks better of being in here, but a bad blink doesn't take him around the corner as he wanted to go. The resources running low, and this is turning into quite the trade. Ton of lives lost on both teams.
After all said and done, though, you do still have Zergy farming away on that right side lane, trying to contest the Walker. It's going to be up against the Mirage. Another catch here from Billy, but I mean, it's hard to pin down Sanya Sniper on the Holiday with the jump pad movement. But still, looking to cause problems here. Another catch there using the Rising Ram to try to disrupt the Shiv play together. Not quite as mobile as the previous Shiv, the Shiv of old, and will get taken down. And so looking quite good actually here from buff enjoyers on the re-engage, and Listic I think really starting to find some of that value on Billy that's we come to expect.
Both teams battered, but a ton of ultimates had to come out for buff enjoyers to keep that fight rolling. Now a trade comes in. Lady Geist getting into the action. Obakim does disconnect, so there will be a pause, but on the other side of this, this one's going to be tough for buff enjoyers. They don't really have the ultimates to take this fight. It's just Zergy who has the health swap, but he's already low, so that feels like the health swap just kind of gets him back up to normal. Abrahams, they have a real moment of strength here, considering the economy, ultimate economy on the other side. If they can win this Rift fight, there could be a chance to maybe clean up a Walker.
Yeah, it does look not like the best start for Buff and Joys around here. It's just like you say, Zergi's not in a good position to find a swap. It seems very dangerous to proceed. And I mean, teammates are coming in though. We will have, Drake has a rescue beam, Cube. I would assume that the cooldowns are ready on both of those. So Zergi, should be fine, but it does feel a little bit sketchy. We'll see how quickly Abrahams can get themselves across to this side of the map, because it does seem like numbers advantage wise, Buff and Joys are probably in a better position just on the numbers. Mirage already here in the fights, and just Wraith is isolated over the left side. So, I think one thing that would be interesting is Arzo going to push all the way to the Walker whilst this fight begins?
I think that's a key question. I think that's exactly what Arzo's thinking about right now. If you immediately get on the zip, I think you do make it to this fight in time to have real impact. But you also don't have telekinesis. I kind of like the idea of Arzo just forcing a split push down the other side of the map, getting a guaranteed walker out of the fight, or forcing a response out of Buff and Joys. The thing I'm really worried about for Buff and Joys, I think they might lose both the Sidewalker and this Rift fight. Even a 5v6, if together can spawn in time to get in the engagement, I think the ultimates alone will be enough for Abrahams to overwhelm. Like Billy and Mina, Great Talon, these are characters that really want the ultimate, especially in this draft where they're kind of hurting for some frontline and some setup. That Billy ult is a massive difference maker, right? It's the difference between locking down Mirage or Shiv and staying on top of them, finishing them off in a few seconds, versus them lasting, a minute or two in the team fight and dealing massive damage, massive sustain, which is really the calling card of those heroes, especially with Rem behind.
How do you feel about the game state overall? I mean, right now, like Buff and Joys are only, I think, able to keep it this close because they were able to secure the first Rift. I think that felt somewhat surprising, but that actually really brought them back into a really good spot, where previous to that they were getting just heavily out pressured. So are we seeing a turnaround for Buff and Joys where they can finally take the advantage and momentum? Like, how do you feel like they're scaling into the game now? They were close to the 20-minute mark.
I feel like in theory, Buff and Joys have a better late game comp because they have more carries, but honestly, I like the Abrahams draft. I think they're more well-rounded overall, and the fact that they were able to do so well in the early game set their cores like Wraith up for success, who I feel like Wraith's biggest weakness, she's kind of already passed, which is the very early game. She is considering coming back on the zip to the fight. Looks like she's mostly going to play the farm game, but Infernus responds in kind, and so no numbers advantage to be had on this Rift just yet, but I wonder if Buff and Joys even want to contest it. They've got to get in here in the next few seconds, lest this one just be free capped by Abrahams.
Interesting choice here. Buff and Joys looking for the perfect moment to dive on into to try to contest this, and in they go. A cube is utilized, so that save, the key save has been burned early on here in this fight.
Down.
It's a good catch to get, and now Signing Sniper's getting very, very low here, getting forced away from the circle. And it looks pretty good here for Abrahams. They've got all these frontliners. They've got so much sustain. They're able to just command the space, and they're going to be able to win out the Rift. Beautiful stuff. And I guess that's kind of where you're seeing that weakness you were kind of mentioning, Jake, in terms of how Buff and Joys don't have a comp that's as well-rounded and has that tankiness, that sustain in the front line.
I mean, just without ults, right? They're not really able to have impact. Mina going down early into the fight, I believe, off a hook from Taz. Empty Dreams, though, hold on, does get traded. So Obicum and Drake working together to punish, but the Men in Black, man, if you don't have heroes here to defend, they crush through that Walker, and that leaves the rest of Abrahams to go for an uncontested mid-boss grab. Demov's around, but they just don't really have the tools to contest these rejuves. And all three, it's going to go fully clean to Abrahams, a spirit buff to Wraith, who's got the Ricochet queued up. I mean, everything is set here for Abraham to just go absolutely parabolic when it comes to the farm advantage. Buff and Joyers are honestly on the ropes. Like, this could be, game, set, and, well, not set and match yet, but this could be game one going against them if they don't turn the tide in the next few minutes.
Yeah, it does feel like one of those spots where, you have everything set up for you. You just have to make, and you know what the decisions are. Like, the decisions on how you play the advantage are pretty straightforward. You just have to execute, and if you can just follow through, you're completely fine. And in that respect, Buff and Joys are the ones that have to come up with some kind of crazy play, or if not crazy, just something that catches Abrahams off guard, something quirky. And speaking of which, he'll try to lock down Mirage, but really one of the hardest heroes to lock down with the tornadoes available.
Yeah, I mean, with Counterspell and Dispel Magic still available, you're a long way from that kill. Bebop Shiv looking on the other side of the map. The Sleep comes in to set it up. They get a catch on top of the Billy, but Listic with a lot of mobility is going to try to play his way out of this. Still seems like the connection's coming in. Wraith here for the assist, and even picks up the finished kill. So Arzo really starting to show his impact in the match. Zergy, though, has also come out of the jungle with a pretty massive net worth advantage. Some kills towards him would be great. But Sonya so mobile on this holiday. They have a ton of players coming for the punch, but they haven't found it just yet. Maybe the slowing X, the knockdown, the owl, eventually all of this thrown together. Surely it'll be enough, but who's come into this fight but Arzo? Big lift onto D-Mob, who's out of this fight before he can really get to playing. And even Sonya hasn't gone down just yet. This is going absolutely horrific for Buff Enjoyers.
Yeah, D-Mob is going to feel robbed not getting the kill onto Sanya there. The telekinesis saving Sanya at the pivotal moment. And all of these kills getting cleaned up. That's so unfortunate for Buff Enjoyers. It did not even get the extra rejuve charges away from Buff Enjoyers. And again, new rejuve, 3-minute expiration as opposed to the 4 minutes that it previously had. So I think that's going to be making a big difference in terms of how much Abrahams can kind of leverage the advantage. But
they want to use it.
Here we go.
They want to force. They're going to go down mid. Billy Chain Gang, you don't feel too much impact from it. It kind of backs off Mirage for a moment, who's going to TP back to base for a quick reset coming into the fight. But elsewhere, Obakim goes down, found by Sonya Sniper without even leveraging the lasso. Cosmetical now in the crosshairs, and Shiv desperate to find this finish. That knife connection should be enough to do it. And yes, Cosmetical indeed bleeds out in the safety of his own base. Buff Enjoyers 3 on the deck. And now it's just up to Abrahams. What objective do they want to take? They could have just about anything on the map. And it seems that the call is going to be to go for a collapse on this left side, maybe find the last walker, although time isn't exactly on their side when it comes to that push. Rejuve going to expire before another engagement can really get underway.
And it's pretty rough. There's so much farm up on the map as well. There's a decent command of the enemy jungle. So Abrahams, just, again, is that easy decision making for them in terms of how do they play out the advantage. And, you know, any top team worth their salt are going to have these protocols as to, you know, what are our priorities in these positions. Everybody knows exactly what to do. And again, it falls onto Buff Enjoyers to do something that's unexpected. And it's just very hard, especially at this point when the difference in net worth is so enormous. And I mean, Abrahams, I mean, they had a great start, Jake. You know, there was only really that one moment, I think, when they lost that first rift where things started to equalize a little bit, but at the same time, they still managed to maintain the lead.
Rem, meanwhile, has been robbing Buff Enjoyers blind in the jungle, has probably more buffs than the entirety of Buff Enjoyers, maybe just about equal. I will refuse to actually do that math on stream, but Arzo is able to just clear. There's so many back camps for Wraith to just chomp through, and with Ricochet, with Merc Mag, those camps go down so quick. Arzo is going to hit a crazy spike. I mean, his souls now are 30k, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's on 40 and you know, whatever. I think what's the new max boons is like 46 now. He's going to be there sooner rather than later, and Wraith is one of those heroes when she hits that like fully maxed out build. There's very few characters in the game that can do it as quickly and as aggressively as she can. And then we've already seen, like, just the impact from the kit is very real in this game. Like, both D-Mob, Cosmetical, arguably anybody on Buff Enjoyers except maybe Lady Geist is going to be really hurting if Wraith sets her sights on you.
You got to guide it down. Plus 24.
Just gotta just clear a wave with it. I mean, there's not much else you can do. Scout things out. Buff Enjoyers know, I think, that like one really bad fight goes against them, they're going to lose shrines. And with Wraith's DPS, that's not going to be a problem whatsoever for Abrahams to clear. So Abrahams are patient. They're farming the map up. They're playing for the economy game. And you can see the lead is just expanding little by little. At 25 minutes, buffs are going to be contested. Obakim trying to contest the left side. Lucky to dodge the first hook, but may still be in trouble. Hold on, Wraith. Maybe gets gone on elsewhere, but you're able to win on both sides of the map simultaneously. Definitely a sign of strength for Abrahams.
Let's see what you catch, my friend.
The rift is opening up here as well for right lane, so we'll see a potential battle. I don't know if Buff Enjoyers really have much of anything to contest it with, though, at this point.
Saint has Echo Shard Scourge, by the way. It is going to be rough to challenge into this. I mean, even Scourge with the nerfs, right? It does have scaling now. Oh, by the way, Lasso found it onto Viscus. One of the ideal picks. Doesn't have the save when he's the one stunned down. And before the fight can even come in, this looks terrifying now for Buff Enjoyers. The game hangs in the balance. This unstable rift coming out. Big Billy Chain, but where's the damage follow-up? Arzo still healthy, still pumping the damage here on Wraith. Cosmetical has to run for the hills. They've tried to stay inside this rift. They know how crucial it will be for the game, but it looks to be the end of Buff Enjoyers in this game one. They will eventually find the kill on Arzo, which is something. I mean, mitigates some of the D push coming into your base, but with the entire team virtually having to give their lives for it, it doesn't feel worth it in the end.
I think we got some chain killing blows there, looking absolutely disgusting around the Rift fight. Together once again. Very, very strong. And once again, we're going to see Taz running the urn. It's kind of just what Taz's job is about 50% of the time in the job description. Just run the urn.
These troopers with the assist from Mirage, I mean, these are going to crush through the base guards. Like, this is, you know, that's something we've been sort of waiting for. I think teams haven't been too aggressive about like committing in, but the rem assist on these troopers, I mean, they just don't take damage from the enemy base. Like, you need very serious wave clear tools, and Buffingers don't exactly have that. So I believe if a shrine, well, they don't want to commit for it though. I mean, maybe they recognize, hey, if you die here, mid boss spawning soon, it could be a massive throw. But like, look how hard these troopers are to bring down. I mean, Viscous is like struggling in a 1v1 right now.
Oh my goodness.
This is crazy. This is insane.
My,
he literally can't kill it.
Come on, man. Oh, that is just disgusting. Okay, what do you do? What do you do right now? Buffingers is in serious trouble.
They don't have like comeback heroes, you know what I mean? Like they're reliant on a very greedy draft, getting a ton of farm and having items to solve their problems. But on the other side, like Taz and Sonya can just look for picks with complete impunity. I mean, they're not scared of a thing. They just keep taking chances, keep taking opportunities, and given their success rate as far as hitting these key lockdown skills, I don't feel great about the opposition. Heroic picked up double aura for Bebop, so really focused on the team enabling with this build for Taz, but he does some pretty serious gun damage on his own right.
Yeah, soul difference. It's a mountain. It is a mountain. All right, well,
he has boundless spirit. That's egregious. And they might just, are they just going to flip mid? This is kind of a wild move. I mean, this is textbook Abraham's. It's a big risk considering all the ultimates in play, but Abraham's, there's a good call. Buffingers are very far back in their base. I don't know that they're going to get here in time. It'll be a mad dash to try and contest these regions. It's already dropping, going down quick. Buffingers, I just don't think they're going to be here in time. Scourge placed on Jib. It's going to start last hitting these rejuves. Finds two of them. For now, D-Mob in the pit trying to contest the third, but it still goes the way of Abraham's. And so too go the kills. Buffingers routed, just running now, trying desperately to keep a couple survivors on the map. But Dan, this could very well be it.
Yeah. The strength right now is overwhelming from Abraham's. There should be no reason to not just finish the game right here. Oh no! It's teleport forwards. It's a telekinesis. Goodbye, Viscous. Just holding his hands up. He's like, please no, please.
Yeah, rescue beaming himself just to delay the inevitable. But yeah, GG to go next, called by Overkill. And I think he's been feeling it this game, honestly. He has been taking serious L's on Infernus in this one. I mean, it has been the struggle bus for him.
Yeah, the draft just, that's something that needs to be solved. I think that there was a really big problem for buff enjoyers to go for this type of a comp, but also not to have the early laning power to contest what we saw from Abraham's. They won mid lane really hard. They won I think right or left lane really hard as well. They won two lanes really hard. And the key one was the fact that Empty Dreams got off to an insanely fast start. And that was also the lane that I think it was like a 6-minute mid.
Is Arzo killing them in base right now? We need the Arzo cam. He's farming them inside the throne. Absolute stat padding going on from Wraith. You love to see it. Finally blinks out. Has been damaged to half HP by being in the enemy base for 30 seconds. It seems normal. Just a heinously farmed Wraith in game one as Abraham's, crashed through the opposition. Like, there were moments that the game was close, but really it never felt like Buffingers ever had the lead. I mean, it was just a question of how far behind are they for the entirety of this game one.
Behind was definitely where they seemed to be at the entire game, as you saw in the soul graph as well. And D-Mob might be a great player, but doesn't seem to be fitting the same kind of role that Hoot would be within Buffingers, being more supporting, more enabling for his team. But Abraham's, man, I said before, for me, they're the team that adapts quickest to the meta and finds out what's strong. But Buffingers are the team that creates a lasting legacy, winning in those metas. And I'm not too surprised to see this victory. Abraham's looking very strong indeed here across the board. And I don't even know who to necessarily point out in particular when it comes to it. I mean, I have to talk about Saint, an absolute menace. I know ZP would be mauling right now if he had to cast this and see Rem with, 79 golden statue buffs so early on in the game. But everyone was doing work. The hooks, the lassos, it was crazy to see. And once again, the Mirage. I think we've seen some big growth in priority across the board now in EU, and might actually just be worthy of a first pick here. What do you think, DK?
It seems like that. I mean, the value was on the server. We asked the question at the beginning, is it going to prove to actually play out in that fashion? I think yes. He managed to have a 6-minute Guardian down, and being paired with Holiday when you get a 6-minute Guardian down is insane, because the amount of roam that you unlock your Holiday to do by having that control in the game, I think is extremely impactful. And Holiday obviously is in a very strong state right now, and not to mention the fact that Mirage has the ability to kind of just macro off of the ultimate as well. So I think that's just an insanely strong start to get, and it's got to be dealt with somehow.
Jake, it's obviously easy to talk about like the positives of what Abrahams did well, but maybe in your opinion, let's talk about the other aspect of that. Of what do you think Buff and Joyers didn't do well? What do you think they underperformed on in particular, if anything?
I really just don't like the draft. I think this is just too greedy from them. Like, they have so much carry potential in the late game, but the playmaking gap between these two teams is enormous. I mean, it's a canyon. Like, who is supposed to really start the fight? It's like Billy, but no, there's no like individual pick threat on this team comp. I mean, Obikim on Infernus, maybe they pick some of these picks as like deny choices, trying to like keep the draft from Abrahams getting too out of control. But I think they've like honestly just overcooked it, right? Like going for too many carries, not enough playmaking, and then even when there were moments where the game kind of got close, it was just like eventually Abrahams find more picks, whether it's Sonya or Taz. They have so much threat that the team fights just don't feel winnable for Buff Enjoyers. And I think, given that, especially calling GG, not even really taking the final fight, I don't even blame them for it. I don't think there's any chance for them to win that engagement. Like, the game is done, but I think Buff Enjoyers probably felt it themselves. They're like, okay, we screwed up in a major way. And this is a good little, good to know, a little stat pad spot for Wraith. This is good to know. He is taking base damage. He's just soaking through it in this one. But I mean, this is the nature of a very farmed Wraith.
Yeah, and you guys were talking about Arzo. I mean, I think one of the things you said in particular was just being quiet. But that's kind of exactly what you need, I think, is what you guys mentioned. Because Arzo was quietly getting farmed up consistently, constantly building up the souls, build up to the actual lead overall in the lobby, and of course, most damage. But I think one aspect of that is the fact that Together was also creating a lot of focus on himself as well as Empty Dreams, and Arzo could kind of go under the radar, Dan.
Yeah, and that's what you need for the... I mean, if you look at this roster, it's really cool because there's a lot of tempo and pick and playmaking and macro because... And the damage there from Mirage with that macro from the ult as well, it's just so nice because you can create so much pressure and be very, very, very annoying and just continually force the opponents to react to what you're doing if the game's going well, which is exactly what happened. And that is, in fact, of course, going to leave Arzo just in the spot where there's no one pressuring him because the other team has to consistently react to what the rest of the draft is doing for Abraham. So just great draft, and I think they played it out perfectly.
42-10 though, Jake. That is ridiculous looking at the scoreline. But as you guys are talking about the playmakers of Taz, Hassan, and Sniper, I mean, there was no playmaker for Buff Enjoyers. Just that kill line isn't too crazy. But if you were to maybe change one thing on Buff Enjoyers lineup, the draft that they ended up going for, would it be including Paradox? And if so, or if not, who would you replace then? Like, what hero would you take out and put in?
I feel like the Infernus, maybe it's not a bad hero, but it really felt like the Infernus is a hero who wants to be enabled, right? Who wants someone to be setting up those pick kills where he can swing it with a napalm and add all the damage in to ensure the kill comes through, or counter initiate with like a really big concussive combustion once the fight gets going. But in this game, I felt like he had to kind of go first a lot of the time. He goes for a super tanky build to try to enable that play style. But at the end of the day, the outplays are just too consistent from Abrahams. And I think they were just able to leverage their individual skill more. I also think seeing Together in this game, it was like, okay, this is the scary threat of Shiv, right? These like chain executes played around the Rift fight is kind of exactly what we were worried about. Okay, these repeat executes, when that skill has some points into it, are just devastating. He's finding kill after kill. He's basically completely full HP, and he's got a very farmed Saint like riding along with him, scourging him, decaying his targets, and like the two of them together looked really terrifying. Like, that is not a combo you want to be going against, I think, right now.
Yeah, that is a very scary combo, and it feels like it's been a long time since we've seen the chain killing blows out of a Shiv. I don't remember how long ago that was, but it feels like forever ago. But Abrahams, I mean, off the high of winning the R1 tournament just this last weekend, come into this one on the night shift, win their challenger match very convincingly, win the first match of this best of three very convincingly. My question to you two gentlemen before we head to a break is this looking like a 2-0 in your eyes, or do you think Buff Enjoyers are going to do the reverse sweep themselves here, Dan?
Yeah, I think Abrahams look very good. They look very confident. But I do agree with Jake. You know, the draft was... the word that came to mind was appalling. I feel like that's kind of a strong word, but I do think that the problem is solvable in the draft. I could put it that way.
Yeah, maybe if
Any
they had
final
like
thoughts?
a way better laning phase, it could look a little bit better. I think we will see some pretty significant changes given the tenor of that first game. But if this isn't like what sets you up for a 2-0, I don't know what does. I mean, this is as dominant as it gets at this level of competitive play. And so, yeah, I think the stage is set for Abrahams to reclaim the throne here in Night Shift.
Okay, well, Buff and George need to bounce back with a better draft. But that's going to be on the other side of this break while we get into our second match of this best of 3. Well, we are back after a quite devastating loss here for Buff and George in the first match of the money match here up against Abrahams. But honestly, Abrahams are looking good. They're looking rejuvenated. I think that victory took a lot of weight off their shoulders over this last weekend here, and they're looking revitalized, which I think is important here, Jake. But again, it's early on in the meta with things being changed up and shifted around. But one thing always stands true. Well, there's many things that always stand true in life. 3 things in particular: death, taxes, and Shiv always being strong.
Yeah, the rumors of Shiv's demise seemingly greatly overstated. Those chain killing blows really, I mean, that's like part of the kill. I think everyone, when we looked at the changes, it was like, okay, slice and dice melee, this changes everything. That's what everyone is really focused on. But I feel like in that last match, I feel like the killing blow, feels like more realistic to go for those chain executes now, which felt really scary, felt explosive. I do think, though, it's another game where Abrahams blow out the early game, maintain a lead pretty much throughout. And so I think our conclusions meta-wise are limited, other than how good Abrahams are right now. And really does feel like the winds of change are blowing, and we may have a new champion here in Europe for the first time in, a month of dominance for Buff and Joy.
And Dan, does that mean we might see Shiv being banned out or taken away from Together here in this next draft?
At the very least, they shouldn't allow them to have, like Holiday and Shiv and Bebop, I guess, at the same time. There's a lot of I feel like faux pas in the that previous draft that just criminal activity that was allowed to be gotten away with on the Abraham side. So again, I think there's different ways they could go with it. But yeah, Shiv definitely seems really, really nice. But Holiday too, man. I feel like Holiday is well, also Mirage. Hang on, we should be talking about Mirage. Maybe actually Mirage is kind of more of the problem here.
I mean, Mirage feels like back in the day used to be not only a great late game carry, but also amazing in the lane. Now I think the lane is not quite as dominant as it once was. And so when you are able to have a really, really well executed, fantastic laning stage and snowball into the mid game, you can make so much space where, Arzo was not punished at all. I think we can say this game on Wraith. He had a very comfortable early game, was able to kind of get past that phase where Wraith feels weak, and then just be able to, when he starts showing up to the team fights, rip and tear at the opposition. And for Buff Enjoyers, I think they'll probably be picking a little bit more playmaking, a little bit more individual catch to just get active on the map.
Well, one thing I did want to bring up that we've seen now in both matches is the unstable rift as a comeback mechanic. Both times we've seen it now, we've had, 12 troopers spawning on in with their tuxes, their sunglasses on, and they've been immediately shut down. They've accomplished nothing on the pushes. It feels like teams have responded properly to this, and I'm curious on your thoughts when it comes to the comeback of the unstable rift here, Dan. We've seen teams kind of, actually maybe Jake, since you already want to jump into it, it seems like teams are just, when they're so far ahead, they're more than willing to just let it go for free and then just kill the minions.
I do agree with that. I think even as a comeback, it's not going to be, so backbreaking, but I will disagree that it did nothing. I mean, in that game when Abrahams was able to successfully take the rift, they didn't push with the troopers, but there was such a need to respond to that huge trooper wave that they got a free mid boss out of it. So it's like
it's the comeback version of it I'm mostly talking about.
Okay.
Is that we've seen it twice now, and the first game was just Bebop, Hyper being the second game, it was just Shiv dashing through them. It doesn't seem to have accomplished much when it comes to comeback, is maybe what I was looking towards. It seems like teams just respond with, okay, you have it, and we just kill them, and then guess what? You didn't really accomplish anything with the comeback.
It kind of makes sense, because when you're behind and you win this comeback objective, the last thing you want to do is go for a big committed push. You're probably still behind, and then you just throw your bodies away into the fire here. So it does, I agree, maybe mitigate some of the value that could have been found if it was just a pure economy thing, the way it was in the previous patch.
Well, we do see the Mirage being first picked again here.
Yeah, but by Buff Enjoyers this time, and Buff Enjoyers banned opened with a Rem ban. I don't know the last time we saw a Rem ban. And so that's going to definitely nerf
Shiv
some
biscuits,
of
I'm calling it.
the power of Shiv, because obviously the Rem Shiv combo, like you guys said, was pretty damn strong. And also they get denied the Mirage. But Holiday surely would be a follow-up here post the Shiv to kind of counter what Buff Enjoyers have done.
I think Viscous is giga premium right now with Rem banned, because these have been the two supports of the patch, right? And with one banned out, you get to be the only team with a really powerful saving tool, especially against Mirage. I think is a good matchup for Viscous, since you can purge and like get rid of all the debuffs that Mirage applies to you as the game progresses.
You can only run for
Good old
the law
shift
for
kiss
so long.
as a combo, but that does leave open Holiday. And as you guys were talking about before, there was no pick potential out of Buffingers in the last game, at least securing one. Though I do wonder. I want to see. I'm kind of looking at this Jake, and I'm like, Buff Enjoyers, if you don't pick Bebop here, ban Bebop on the turn if Abrahams don't take it, and then you deny them really any pick potential. Because honestly, Paradox has just disappeared, it seems like, from the meta lately.
I agree. I think Abraham's, it doesn't feel great grabbing Bebop. I think you'd rather get like a Venator or some kind of hard carry that's like really top tier, but I think you need to get the Bebop now or it's getting banned. Even if the Venator gets banned, there are other options in the carry pool. They do go with the Venator though, so I think they probably give up the Bebop in order to grab this. I agree with your analysis. I don't see why Buff Enjoyers would let that through, especially given Taz, like how well he's playing on the hero right now, how many hooks he's hitting. It's like, you got to separate this guy from Bebop, or else he's just going to do terrible damage on the server.
Wow.
I'm so sad because I want to see how Vindicta actually plays in this meta, because I do think she's probably strong. I mean, she's got banned twice by Abraham, so they agree.
Well, no, it was Buff Enjoyers that banned it last time.
Oh,
and I think I thought that was against Saint in particular, but to see Abraham's ban, I think is the really interesting part, because obviously Obi Kim does play good Vindicta as well, but maybe they know something about Vindicta that we didn't necessarily expect coming into today's games.
I mean, Buff Enjoyers are going to ban the Doorman instead of the Bebop, which is not something we had talked about, but that kind of makes sense. Maybe Doorman is even scarier potentially. But Abraham's, they just go for another carry. They're doubling down on like the heavy carry meta here. Buff Enjoyers options are starting to run thin, and now it gets weird because I don't know if you want to pick a Bebop for yourself. Maybe you do, but especially with Demov subbed in, I don't know that Buff Enjoyers are going to be as keen to have the double pick hero.
That I wanted to see it, man. Demov was the best Bebop in EU. We talked about overseas. We talked about TAS. We talked about who. Demov was crowned the best Bebop by me. I don't know if you guys...
I think TAS is pretty damn good. I'm a little... I think Demov's very good at a lot of things. I don't know. He hasn't played that... It's been a long time since he's really played Bebop, right?
It's been a very long time, yeah.
Okay, Apollo getting buff after buff in the last like 2 or 3 patches sequentially. I'm not shocked to see him getting a place here, and it feels like a good draft for Apollo to shine. You've got pick, you've got carry, you've got team fight. There's room to be a little bit greedy with some, like an Obikim Apollo in this game.
Damn, man. You're getting your task Bebop at least.
Yeah, totally. And this is going to be a very interesting game just because we actually have a much more rounded comp from Buff Enjoyers. So there's always like dangerous problems were dealt with. I feel like they've dealt with the Shiv by banning the Rem to some extent, and they got the counterplay and not giving away Holiday. They took Mirage for themselves. This is looking way better for Buff Enjoyers, and I think Apollo is like a very nice pick into this, especially the capacity for the movement. I think Apollo has been missing, and I think the buffs have pushed him over the edge to be a great spirit like burst. Cariello, Seven's back.
Okay.
Seven got hit by the nerfs, right?
I think the nerfs to 7 though are like nerfs that honestly don't matter much in high level play. I think they're really good nerfs because they address exactly that problem. The 7 was like just too good at the lower levels, but still unplayed at the highest levels. And so the nerfs that come in are, I think it's like to Storm Cloud, and then that's like the significant nerf. And then there's maybe a smaller nerf on I want to say like the lightning balls, but these nerfs, realistically, 7 and at this level is mostly played as a hard carry who is playing around Power Surge, and I believe that is for the most part untouched. So I actually think 7 could still be good.
Lightning Ball charge delay reduced from 7 to 6 seconds, so it comes up quicker. But Storm Cloud time to expand increased from 1.5 seconds to 3.5 seconds. So it takes a lot longer for it to expand, make it a lot easier to escape. The damage interval also increased, but the DPS wasn't changed. So instead of every 0.25, it's every 0.3 seconds. And then Stormcloud Terror 2 increases the radius by 5 meters. I think, honestly, with the way Zergy plays 7, he pops the ultimate for a lot of like zone control as well, which is very favorable when it comes to these unstable rifts. But honestly, gentlemen, if I'm looking at these 2 lineups here, I'm kind of leaning towards a 2-0 for Abrahams. I don't know. I know Vrake plays a really good Apollo. I guess Demob would be on Holiday and Obi Kim would be back on Infernus. But honestly, I wasn't too convinced by Obi Kim on Infernus, though he obviously needs a bit of support here. But can the Mirage game of being like 3-28 over a few weeks period in our previous night shifts, is he going to become unstoppable now? I mean, he's been undefeated so far today.
Definitely a lot of questions in this draft. I do think Abraham's, they've got a very nice lineup to play around a Venator. It's like you've got Bebop to kind of pull people in and assist Venator, who kind of creates a zone of control, I feel like, in the fights, where wherever's Venator standing, laying his traps, like holding an angle, it's very hard to just aggress into that kind of a location. And I think that is going to give a real good spot for Viscous, Bebop to kind of look for their opportunities in the team fight. So I think Abrahams have really good tools. Buff Enjoyers, I mean, the 7 has been tried here and there in the last like month or so, I'll say. And I feel like it's always been close, but it's never quite seemed really good to me. It just feels like maybe the consistency isn't there. Maybe the vulnerability to just getting your stun, dispel magic or cubed is, you know, kind of mitigates some of your consistency in the team fights. So for Buff Enjoyers, they're going to have to make something work that not many other teams have had success with, on top of a more experimental Apollo pick. But maybe these 2 picks could end up being their strength. I mean, we don't exactly know how they perform on the new patch.
I feel like, so for the Spirit Burst kind of category, I feel like Yamato is being undervalued still personally. And I think especially into this meta, again, health pool is a little bit lower. I feel like Yamato is still kind of nice, but we'll see if Apollo is like going to be a better pickup. I guess it's going to be fun to like, you know, take him out for a spin and kind of see how he feels, you know, coming back into this level of play.
I mean, so right now we can see who's on. Don't look at your other screen. Keep it on the camera.
I already
here.
saw.
You already saw. Okay, you can't answer.
I'm untainted. I'm untainted. I haven't looked.
Okay, so Jake,
I listened.
Give me your rundown on who's on who right now in Buff Enjoyers.
Okay, so if I had to guess, I would say the easiest one is probably Listic on Billy. That's probably the most straightforward.
Well,
Zergy,
7 for Zergy.
7 for Zergy. So I'm going easiest first. I would guess it'll be Obakim on Holiday, Dimov on Apollo, or maybe Vrake on Holiday, Obakim on Apollo, Dimov on Infernus, and who's my remainder? Cosmetical on Mirage.
Okay, you know, Jake, I can see your nose growing because you kind of looked. There's no way you got that. There's no way. I don't believe you.
I'm actually the best. I'm the best.
Okay, apparently you got 4 right and 2 wrong.
Okay, I'll take that.
I don't know who the 2 wrong are, though, if I'm honest with you. But we can see, unless things have changed, Obakim is on Apollo and Dimov is on the Mirage.
Okay, so maybe it's Dimov, Mirage, and Cosmetical and Furnace. So I swapped those 2, which I think is a pretty good mistake to make, considering they're quite similar in a way in terms of like the type of player who plays them. But I mean, Obakim, I think he has played Apollo before, and I think in general it's the lowest eco character in this draft. So like you were saying, Dan, about the Yamato, and I think Yamato maybe is undervalued by EU, but in this draft, Apollo is going to need to be a little bit lower eco, where Yamato needs a little bit more farm and a little bit more tempo. So I think that's why it ended up being picked here. On top of Buff Enjoyers maybe being just a little bit desperate, right, and wanting to take some risks with the hero picks in this game too.
Well, Lightbringer did give us a smiley face when asking him what this draft was. So let's see how it's going to work out here for Buff Enjoyers. They can come back here in this series and tie it at 1 apiece. Jake and DDK, take it away.
Yeah, one thing I'll say as well, Jake, is that Apollo still should be, in theory, like pretty good in lane, like in the early laning phase.
Yeah.
And that's I think, you know, something that, I mean, Yamato is also good in the early laning phase, but I feel like Apollo was even better in the prime Apollo days.
Yeah. I think people have also gotten really good at dealing with disengaging Sigil, but I do think the spirit scaling on Flawless Advance is going to be really nice for Apollo in the mid game, where the heals you get from that like keep you in the fight quite a bit better and enable you to really stay alive and keep those trades rolling. Like when you do win a fight, you're going to be leaving it with more HP to like go to the next kind of a gank. So, I see why the buffs, they do add up over time. And there's been, I think, 2 or 3 straight patches of like moderate Apollo buffs. He took that like one huge nerf that really put him on his heels in a competitive perspective. To see, of course, how it plays out in this one. And in the end of the day, right, you look at Abraham's draft, you're like, Together's on Shiv, Saints on Viscous, Taz on Bebop. You really like the odds of the playmakers. Interestingly, it'll be Sonya on the Venator, which I feel like Sonya has kind of transitioned away from the heavy carry role for this squad, right? He really has been playing, I think, more of these playmakers, more of these like spirit nuker style heroes. And so it's interesting to see him back on the carry role, which is where we got to know him as a player like months and months ago, was, as like a Wraith player, as a Warden player.
It kind of makes sense, you got Arzo playing Geist, and you know, you talked about having more of a greedy, I suppose, team in the sense that you got a Geist and a Venator, both two heroes that you're looking to be those M1 carries and need more farm. And so that inherently does slow down the gameplay of Abraham's, I would say. And in terms of like the tempo, do you feel like that does allow Buff Enjoyers to have the edge there? Should we be expecting Buff Enjoyers to largely be the team taking more initiative in the first like 10 minutes?
Yeah, definitely possibility is Together gets absolutely boxed out of this lane. I mean, the Infernus is beaming. Cosmetical has had a couple really nice ignites on him, and to send the opponent back to base that early is nice. It is going to funnel a lot of souls towards Arzo, which he won't be too mad at. Small camp, though, traded and won. Looks like both teams kind of won the other side small camp in the side lane, so still, I would say, pretty even, although both teams winning the aggressive side of the side lane.
I think it's another thing about Viscus that's so annoying is that Viscus is actually insane in the early game. It's like poke is so good. And looking to get a gut shot there to completion. Is the kill coming forward? Looking for the dive. Straight under the tower we go. And the second bounce from the splatter will do it. Lovely stuff there, taking out Obikin.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about how good Apollo is in lane, but this is a tough one to battle against. Venator, so threatening to get up in close range against, since he can just shotgun you into a wall and absolutely blow any kind of a trade out of the water. And then Viscus, right? We talk about being one of the better poking heroes. I personally quite like playing Viscus into Apollo lane because he wants to be so aggressive and like walking up to sigil you, but you have so many tools to disrupt that on Viscus, whether you're just kind of kiting back and raining damage in, or actually getting aggressive and trying to punish when Apollo has those skills on cooldown. Now, box runs, of course, so efficient. Everybody's like already in position to clear these high-density box locations, especially in the mid lane, where both Taz and Empty Dreams are getting some nice economy off the back of it.
I do wonder if the boxes, if that will ever change at all in terms of the whole like Deadlock developments. I know some people are fans of the boxes, some people not so, you know, so much.
I'm an enormous box fan. I feel like boxes are I hope they never really like hurt them, because it's like a beautiful way to make movement like directly rewarded. Your mobility, you're able to get things. Speaking of movement, by the way, he's gonna need some serious help. The riposte is missed, but the damage is coming in. Looks like a parry maybe did connect in the chaos, but with the rotation in, they're able to pick up that kill onto Viscus, slow him down. Sonya, though, more important hero, I think it's fair to say, in the lane, is going to be able to get away.
And there is Demo picking up the Mystic shot. Mystic regeneration alongside that. He's to dominate this middle lane at the moment. So far, it looks like you know, the lanes have been relatively even. But this, we saw the power of the Mirage Holiday lane in the previous game. But Buff Enjoyers get to play it this time. We'll see if they can be as successful.
Sonya having quite a nice start here. Going to build straight into that crippling headshot. And this hero is one of the most difficult to trade into on the laning phase. Once they made that crippling work on neutrals, it's such a powerful farming tool. And I mean, you have a kind of a perfect tool to kind of keep that debuff applied. Lady Geist, nice movement from her, is going to slip far enough away with that stunt. She doesn't take too much counter damage. Cosmetical kind of covers the retreat with a flame dash. This is a deep dive on Sonya, but he is healthy and right into the trap. Goes the Apollo. The cube delays things for now, but will it actually be enough to escape? Listic, another rotation into the side lane very early in the game for ability to get active like this, but once again, it pays off. So Buff Enjoyers showing us a much more competitive early game in game 2.
Yeah, just got massively punished for that dive, and look at the tower damage just coming off the back of that, just trying to get any edge, and this middle tier camp is really nice to find. And Billy is like so good at farming these types of camps this time in the game, and looking to go for a counter punish though. And the chain gang comes through, and he try to delay things, but you're not getting out of this one. There comes the hook, and soon just trying to, no, she's gonna die, but okay, maybe I can put like a couple more licks onto the towers, but yeah, pretty big extension from Listic there.
Laying the trap.
Yeah, he's definitely been getting a lot out of those rotations. Very important. The Taz can kind of slow his roll, but the mid Guardian does take quite a bit of pressure forward, and with this Demov's Mirage sitting on a tornado, he is not going to be a very realistic kill, even if you hook him. Able to build pretty aggressively into a heal bane, and it's going to be tough for anybody to stay in this mid lane. Even Empty Dreams with the Spirit buff, right? That's going to be nice to kind of slow down the push, but it does feel like that tower is headed for destruction if there isn't a big rotation towards the mid lane.
It's going to be interesting in this game how much space Zergi's going to get to play with to get the farm rolling. Obviously, Zergi has been phenomenally effective on Buff and Joys over the last few weeks. And so he's always a key player to look at.
Taz shuts down D-Mob. Looks like D-Mob's maybe trying to get a little cheeky, steal a camp away. A little too early, gets punished. That's going to be the headhunter picked up for D-Mob. Players low across the board, though, in this fight with Infernus. Keeps wanting to find these burn connections off the 7 stuns, but the movement has just been a little too clean here from Together and Arzo, just bunkering down. But 7 and Infernus are both insane heroes for pushing down early towers and pressuring early waves. And it seems like this Geist just can't keep up with the wave clear as this tower seems to be on its last legs here.
Yeah, Abraham's going to lose that right side tower too. Both Sonya Sniper and Saint got pushed back to base on the right side of the map, and that's painful. You know, this is not a great start, I think, for your Venator. They've been doing a good job, I think, in terms of limiting the damage, but yeah, Sanya on that Venator. Again, you know, we talked about Zergi being a key player on the M1 role for Buff and Joys, and Sonya Sniper is sitting opposite the table as the player to be the countermeasure.
Zergi into the farm game, and this is really why you pick 7. I will say he had quite a good lane. Like, this is pretty much the dream lane for a 7. He's got 5.3k. He's going to be building towards Cultist Sack next. Infernus Cosmetical is going to be happy to get into a little bit more action in the mid lane, but keep an eye on that Zergi soul count. I think this is one of those games where he could go real hyper carry mode. Nice little bebop laser from Giga range. Even dodges the lasso with some cheeky movement behind tower, and that's going to be able to get a punish kill onto Vrake. Wonderful positioning from Taz. Experience really being shown there on the bebop to cast the laser in that position.
Yeah, trying to turn the tides in the mid lane. Very nice counter, or rather the riposte comes in to try to stay alive a little bit longer. The lunge is extremely annoying to deal with, but you're stuck in the hallway against the gut shot. There's not much you can do against that. So perfect encounter for Sonya Sniper to take full advantage. And Abraham's starting to get the pickoffs. It started with the Hyper Beam, but decided to snowball this a little bit. But though, as I say that, D-Mob able to come in with a counter kill to keep that priority here on mid going the way of Buff and Joys.
Yeah, D-Mob's dominance in the mid lane. Definitely an asset here to Buff Enjoyers, buying a lot of time for other players to get some more comfortable farm, especially that Zergi 7. But some counter kills going back the other way. Taz starting to activate and building into his own headhunter. So Bebop is going to be able to maybe move the needle anywhere he shows up into the team fights. If D-Mob's able to contest Sinners like this, though, it definitely speaks to his strength in the game, but the threat from Taz is just too great. He has to back off for now.
Something worth mentioning is that MT Dreams is having a rip-roaring start. 7.5k, and that was quite, you know, contrary to the performance and the start that we saw from Cosmetical in the last game on Talon. Much better start this game. We'll be curious to see how MT Dreams is able to leverage that. He's gone, you know, the typical build that you'd expect, you know, heavy gun invest early on.
Yeah, even as a stack of the bird with 2 levels in it. And there's good players to assist the bird, right? If you get like a hook with Taz, if Together and Saint are around to throw a little bit of damage in, the bird is going to be all you need. There's like double executes, right? You could bird into a Shiv execute. You could be killing people from very high initial HP totals. Shiv now being targeted. Viscus shows up to maybe change the narrative. A cube comes in, but still the Billy Chain pulls Shiv into a compromised position. A hook onto D-Mob simultaneously, but ultimately Together does go down for it. Traded, though, onto the Mirage, and it feels like that's going to be worthwhile considering how well D-Mob has been doing in this game.
After chasing down Apollo, oftentimes extremely annoying. But again, into the underground there. I don't know if that's the best place to find yourself. We'll get taken out. I didn't see the bag, but it looked big. And 5k advantage now, starting to go the way of Abrahams. They're taking momentum in this game, Jake. We talked about that early tempo, seemingly in favor of Buff and Joys in some certain respects. On the scoreboard, we can see that that's not the case. And with the Rift now soon to come up, Abrahams are in a great position to start to snowball some more.
Yeah, and this urn looks like it's going to be dunked by Shiv. Especially with that kill on Infernus at the same time. They push down the mid. They grab the Guardian, which is nice for Dima, but he's too low to keep control of this mid lane. And Shiv is just going to keep it on rolling. Sliding right in. There's not going to be contest on this urn. There is going to be a bit of a challenge in the mid lane, though, which could end up being a key fight. Obikin wants to get some revenge, but the mid boss is really helping Sane out, kind of providing some covering fire for him. But of course, the damage does just as good back the other way. And a real fight around the mid boss at 11 minutes. A pretty unique moment so far in the game. 2 for 1, winning trade for Buffinger so far, but bringing it right back to even is Sonya Sniper into a very early engagement. Typically, Venator a little bit greedier than this, but Sonya showing some of that experience on the playmaker role, comes in, activates himself, and is rewarded.
Yeah, very unusual battlegrounds at this time, I agree. So many players turning up for that one. Now again, Rift is going to be coming up at some point soon. And so you're looking to really prioritize that side lane wave priority. And so Buff enjoys, something they do have going for them on the left side lane is they have their Guardian up still. So they would love the left side to be where the Rift spawns. They would absolutely love that.
By the way, what in God's green earth is Zergi's farm? Zergi has 12K. I mean, he is the standard bearer for the team. The tough thing is for Seven right now, it feels like you need to come to this fight. I don't know that he can afford to greed. He's so much of a huge percentage of his team's strength. It feels like if Zergi's not there, they won't be able to fight. But they brought a lot of numbers here. They're going to assist him. And that Stormcloud could really hurt. Stun-wise, there's not much to work with. It's really the Grey Talonbird, which I actually guess is probably earmarked for the 7 ult. But even without the ultimate, I mean, Zergi is a threat. He is the biggest strength. I like that Buffingers are going to go for a fight around the 7. And with only 4 players here for Abrahams, I'm not sure they even want to contest. There's some players looking in, but yeah, they seem pretty skeptical about their ability to commit. They will just give up a full trooper cap. And I mean, Bebop is going to be here to defend with the laser if he needs to alongside Geist. But once again, yeah, neither team trying to really make value. And the troopers, I guess they're not that strong in the first Rift, right? I think that's maybe the lesson learned. Later in the game, maybe they can do a little bit more, but the buff's just not enough to make a push worth it there.
Yeah, and that's just unlucky for Abrahams. Again, like, you don't know where the Rift is going to spawn, and Buff Enjoyers had the tower, they had the wave priority, they had all the players there. They just kind of got the better side of the variance there of which side of the map the Rift will spawn on. So that's going to give them a little lifeline here, because of course Abraham's starting to run away with momentum. And speaking of Zergi's farm, Silent Sniper 2k ahead. As I say that, Listic's going to find that pick onto Taz, and still good command on the left side of the map if that's where the Rift was captured by Buff Enjoyers as they start to fan back out into mid.
Yeah, Zergi is about as comfortable as a game as it gets for 7. Win your lane, have a whole half of the map that you're just able to free farm, and even have your team show up when you need it to not only win that fight, but also protect your Guardian, right? Because if that Rift goes the other way, it would almost at least be a Guardian going down the other way, right? Maybe the Walker push is too much this early, but the Guardian, another story. So Buff and Juries both get a little bit of advantage off that and prevent a potential comeback moment. Now, Obakam being tested here, getting a decent amount of damage out the other way, but it looks like he just has to use the Atali Lasan to try to escape. No jump pad here anymore, though. Gotta still play his way out of this one. Escape far from guaranteed, especially with Empty Dreams sitting on that owl, considering potential chase down.
Yeah, potential gank here, though. Taking the teleporter across. That is going to be a very vulnerable Silent Sniper on Venator. There's nobody near him. The zipline not accessible now with players surrounding him. I don't think Silent Sniper is going to get out of this position. He's got 17k as well. Very, very strong. Massive pick to find as they can lock him down. But it looks like Silent Sniper's managed to actually evade capture from 3 to 4 players on the right side. That's pretty key to keep himself going and just keep building this huge advantage that he has.
Yeah, you're definitely looking at a very long spawn if you go down here. So I think you're right to call that out. If that kill does come in, it really changes the tenor of the game. But speaking of changing the tenor of the game, I mean, we're dead even now on souls. The advantage that Abrahams once had has been completely nullified now. A couple of stacks for GT. I mean, not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly slowed down some. Abraham's now looking for only the best of opportunities as buffs spawn. Looks like it's going to be 1-to-1 Demob picking up a vitality buff. It's going to enable him to be a little bit more aggressive than maybe he otherwise would be on Mirage. Mobility, though, on GT is pretty nice. What a hook from downtown, but that's a vitality buff Mirage. Not an easy kill by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, not sure that he got the slowing hex in time as well, but wow, multiple kills there. Going the way of Buff Enjoyers. Looking really nice here. Going to be stealing away the urn as well. And they're looking to run that across the map. Not really all that much to stop this. In the middle of the map, you're going to see Empty Dreams here on the Talon, but again, not too much to do there, but in comes the Hero Domini. Big value from that at this stage of the game here with the farm that is had, but just can't quite find the engagement to lock those players down, and it's going to be Buff Enjoyers escaping, not taking any deaths there, and that would have been really critical for Silent Sniper, given all that was just lost, to get at least a kill there.
Yeah, I would have loved to find something. Instead gets Jack Deadly. Urn, I believe, dunked by Buff and Jars in the chaos. And that hurts. You know, and just missing those Air Domini shots. Feels like if he hit all those, maybe he would have had the kill. On to Vrake. Vrake's going to be pretty happy to get out of that one. Still has Lasso now. He's going to be able to get active once again on the map. And it feels like from, you know, in comparison to game one, the activity gap on the map is much smaller, right? Buffinger is able to be a lot more aggressive in terms of where they challenge for fights. Sonya, though, able to maybe sneak away a center on the opponent's side of the map. Always a nice little bit of farm to pick up in a contested game.
Yeah, pretty huge. Counterspell the next item there that Sanya Sniper has queued up. Looking to dodge those lassos, the concussive combustion, etc. Speaking of dodging stuff, you've got to get out of this position. Talon, Empty Dreams, able to escape. Looking to get back into the fight now. Teammates there to maybe take the brunt of the damage. But speaking of which, Taz is going to get decimated there in the front line. And Buffinger is controlling space again.
Big numbers coming in, though. It seems like Abrahams, they want another bite at this. They want to maybe punish some of these players. Mid boxes, pretty significant amount of economy to claim. Cosmetical gets into the fight, but gets absolutely bashed into the wall. Deleted by the trap. Well played from Sonya Sniper. Shuts down the Infernus before the concussive can come down. And the Owl finds the finish onto D-Mob, picking up a 5 streak for Empty Dreams, adding another stack into the cap. So Taz does go down, but maybe Buffinger's not ready for the massive response out of Abrahams. They brought everyone to that engagement.
The killing blow movement all there. That's actually so wild. But hey, yeah, I guess there's no points in it. Let's speed up.
I mean, you might as well pop the second use right after you pick up a kill. It's like, you know, gone. And if you don't use it, and also I think you need to use it to start the cooldown actually rolling again. So there's an incentive to throw it out. I'm not 100% sure that's how it works, but it seems to be that way. People are holding on to the additional uses of killing blow.
Good point. Okay, well, with that, you know, Abrahams with a nice sequence of play that's going to bring them back into a spot where, you know, the momentum was kind of going back to Buffinger as Buffinjoys were dictating a lot of these fights. But that feels like that really brings it back even. And I got to say, you know, Sanya Sniper playing very well on Venator, like finding the key fights, key positions to get the damage in, and also staying alive, honestly, in a lot of the spots where things could be problematic. And speaking of which, getting chain ganged here, can he stay alive in this? Is there any save for Sanya Sniper? Pulls out the damage. Iridomini coming on through. There's a connection onto the Billy, but it's got to dodge these lunges, and this is getting very dangerous. No ultimate there here for Apollo, so can't shut him down. Able to take the fight. Honestly, 1v1 gut shot does do some extra here for Sanya Sniper, but it might not be enough here. Trying to dodge around. Sanya Sniper, can he get another cooldown off for the gut shot? No, denied, and his bag is stolen as well.
Yeah, nice run down here from Obikim. Just overwhelms the carry on the side of Abrams, and there's an unstable rift to be claimed for the victor. Zergi also goes down in that contest, but with so many players split around the map, this seems to be another rift to go the way of the Buff Enjoyers. They bring numbers, they get rewarded. Geist, it's unfortunate timing for her to come into the picture here. Gets stomped by the Walker. In the end, though, she's still going to claim that prize. Just barely in time to avoid a second stomp. D-Mob, though, maybe wants to punish that as well. And Al comes in to maybe slow the chase down from Billy. But as players come back off the spawns, Abrahams may want to get some punishment kills off this. Italia Losan pulls players out for a moment, but Obikim feels caught dead to rights here. I mean, surrounded by Abraham's players. Some nice movement to delay the inevitable, but Empty Dreams just too clean to let that kill go.
Yeah, and I gotta say, you know, we've talked a lot about Sanya Sniper and the impact with that heavy farm, but yeah, I gotta say, you know, Empty Dreams has been a really class and consistent act in terms of damage and really picking up these key engagements and fights and damage. So yeah, great performance from him so far, and I gotta say, you know, is Sanya Sniper in trouble here? There's a few players he's gonna be very careful. There's no support in the immediate vicinity. I believe there could be a cube in his future. There we go. Saint has arrived to keep him alive. Gotta be very careful though on the carry. You do not want to find yourself going down early hit.
Yeah, nice counterspell usage from him to block the 7 stun. Solid counter for that. Earn contest. Billy trying to battle for it. Does be able to just snatch it off the back of Bebop. Maybe thinking without the possibility of getting some kills, but Arzo is also here pumping damage. As much as Billy is running for the hills, there's assists coming. Billy has gone quite deep for this. A few seconds for that rising ram as he gets poked on his way out. The bird is going to connect, and the finish is there for Together. Finds that execute, and maybe there's more to be had. It seems like a big fight now for Shiv to really get snowballing, really get this ball rolling in the game. Still a lot of time to use those executes. Does miss, actually. D-Mob a little too clean on the movement. That'll end the kill streak, but maybe still more to find. Shiv, HP available. No one's really looking for the kill. They're all trying to bring down Sonya, but he's done enough. Not gone down just yet. Obikim once again really desperately hunting for this kill. Does find it in the end, but Together may find some cleanups, although no, hold on. Buffingers is continuing to bring numbers. They are going to lose a walker for bringing so many to the team fight, and in the end, it's a 3-for-3.
In the meantime, though, Empty Dreams picking up a lot of damage on the right side lane, pushing
This is
them
speculative. I
right
don't
to the
like
base
this.
guardians.
He's just losing all his health. No one's helping him. Okay, somebody's helping him now. They're going to start putting some damage down on mid boss, but I don't know about this. I'm scared. They're going to go for it, though. Hold on. Maybe the timers are long enough. Mirage even in. Billy's there, too, now. Okay. Maybe this will be a clean mid boss take.
Talon's looming, though. And also, the bird is available. Okay, here comes the challenge. Looking to meet the challenge. The lunges, just forcing them away. Crystal's dropping. Is there anything to stop this? In comes the ball to roll on through. There's some stuns. There is 2 for Buff Enjoyers, and 1 crystal goes to Abrahams. So Abraham's actually doing a good job on the challenge.
Doing decently, but Buffinger still fighting this one out. Needs some kills for Abrahams if they want to stabilize this fight. Buffinger is holding on to a double rejuve. 7 going to be coming back into this fight, loaded and ready for bear. So there's not much time. Abrahams, they need to find these kills, but instead they find only death. Buffinjoyers, a confident mid-boss call from Obakam, and it'll look to pay off big time as they seize a huge advantage in this game. Sonya wants to claim that last rejuve back if he can. Maybe try to escape with his life, but it feels like that's asking a lot. Buffinjoyers choose instead to just kind of reset this position, take that rejuve into the next team fight, and they do come up the victor in that trade.
I gotta say as well, for me, I think 2 of the deciding factors, like bringing Buff and Joys back into this game, was that they got really fortunate on the rift spawns in both occasions, in terms of the timing and also the side of the map. And I think, just to stand on my soapbox for a second, I do not like variance in objectives. I feel like a change that I would love to see is just knowing which side it's going to be on with more time in advance before it spawns. That would be a change I would want to see.
Yeah, the randomness from the rift is significant now. Definitely something that teams have to take into account, at least on this current patch.
Gentlemen, speaking of patches, I have breaking news. Shiv has been nerfed.
Okay.
The mid-tournament patch just came out, reverted. There we go. We got production is on it.
This is peak esports, guys. This is peak esports. Okay, so we're seeing some... wait, are these nerfs? Okay. So they just basically got rid of the melee on Slice and Dice. It's not that bad of a change, though. They slightly nerfed the killing blow threshold. This is, I think, a very minor change. The biggest change is, okay, no more global amp. Instead, we're back to the spirit damage and spirit shred on the Slice and Dice. So maybe these gun shiv builds are going to be short-lived.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess this is the last time we'll see
short-lived
this.
shivs.
Yeah.
Gets run down under his own walker. I think together really is going to be surprised that they were able to successfully get that kill. Will the punishes come in? Right now the chase is going towards Vrake on the Holiday, but this is a very tough customer to catch. Unstoppable, keeping this Stormcloud up through the knockdown, securing a walker take, and just nobody can challenge Zergy with this ultimate maxed out. Unstoppable comes to an end. Zergy's going to back out for now. Looks like that rejuve is starting to run out. Instead, they're going to look for a kill on the Venator in the side lane, but this is Venator's dream position, right? Holding down a corner in a small room is not the place you want to challenge him.
Yeah, it's starting to look pretty rough here for Abrahams. Going to be losing another walker here as well, and not too much to stop this. Holding on as long as possible there for
Nice
the
burst.
ult, and it's perfect. Oh, it's a cinematic finish with the lunge. Beautiful
He's
stuff
out
there.
on him now. But does he have the skills to get out? Everything's on cooldown now. The rundown gang is here. Nice use of the sigil, though, really showing off what's possible momentum-wise. But Shiv, Bebop are going to ensure there is a finish there. And oh, hold on. Who came in to help? Little Save Your Buddy Syndrome Cosmetical also goes down. And honestly, Empty Dreams has got to be doing pretty nice on the owl stacks. Even with the nerfed 8 spirit power, he's been getting a ton of owl kills.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to peek at that in a moment. But I gotta say, for them to make that change so soon after the patch, it feels like it was like a mistake that it made it in.
I mean, it feels like the stats must have been crazy, right, in pubs. For them to hotfix just one character like that, maybe the pub stats are a little out of control for Shiv. And those 2 kills, I mean, speaking of the stable riff, right, the last couple have been pretty favorable for Buffingers. This one looks to be uncontested. I mean, just off the back of getting those 2 kills, like, yes, you get a walker on the other side of the map for Buffingers, but these are some very buffed minions. There's no walker on this side of the map to take, and so I wonder what Abrahams choose to do with this lane push advantage. GT's hanging around, so is Shiv, so they might actually look to try to assist these minions.
It does feel kind of worse because, like you say, you know, you kind of have to put resources behind clearing this, and that's going to give the team that has the troopers.
And again, really able to freely heavy melee troopers. Yeah, maybe nothing is quite strong enough to deal with. Another earn dunk, by the way. This one, I believe, goes into Zergi's bank account, who is just getting filthy rich right now. 35K for the 7.
Yeah, so whoever is, you know, assisting you getting the souls at the end with you does get a bit of a split. Okay, so interesting though, because the top 3 players that have the most farm, it's so interesting actually, because the top 3 players that have the most farm are the exact ones you would want for Abraham. So that all makes sense.
Yeah, they're definitely splitting the resources more. 7 is going to be asked to do quite the hyper carry job in this game. And he's gone for a more diversified build, like even buying the bullet resilience, which is maybe makes sense this game with, you know, so much bullet damage coming in from Venator and Geist and even Bebop. Decent amount of gun damage in his build here. But not an item we often see picked up on 7. So I think Zergi recognizes he needs to be tanky in this game. If he gets focus fired and killed out of the fight, almost any sacrifice would be worth it for Abraham. So when you put all your souls into one person, it needs to pay off, right? He needs to have a high impact team fights. A lot of cash to spend, right? I'm curious what the next buy is. It's going to be Leech. So, okay, this 7 is going to be very tanky and very able to take long sustained engagements, not reliant on big cooldowns like Infuser, and instead really playing for that hybrid damage.
Okay, well, the map is very pushed here. Every lane, huge priority for buff enjoyers. You got Abraham's playing close to the base. Just a 10k difference and an advantage, marginal in terms of the stats at this time of the game. So we'll have to see exactly what the plan is for Abrahams to burst out of this prison that they kind of find themselves in. And with mid-boss spawning soon, the next team fight is going to be pretty impactful.
Yeah, mid-boss could be decisive in this game if either team is able to come away with a big win. Hooks attempted in mid. Taz, always a threat. Siphon, the buy for Sonya. It's going to be a nice one for maybe making the 7 feel a little bit more killable. And in the end, no matter how much resilience and resist you buy on 7, if you get caught in the wrong place by Venator and Geist, much less Shiv, you're going to be in real trouble. Oh, Taz goes for a hook, instead finds a lasso. Back the other way. The cube and the rescue beam, though, are very nice. Taz still healthy enough to maybe keep this fight going. Concussive doesn't connect to anybody. Cosmetical trying to go for a big chase down into the basement. They're going very deep. There's not going to be a safe retreat out of this fight. Zergi, though, doesn't seem to have any intention of backing down, is committing fully to this fight. Along with the rest of the team, Al coming in. He'd love to be able to find Cosmetical for a finish here, but it's not going to be necessarily easy to do so. So he instead waits for a better target. Oh, it is Cosmetical.
Beautiful.
Does get found out.
Amazing awareness. It's great patience there. Key kill to get, but again, mid-boss is up right now. They're fighting underneath the Walker here. Buff Enjoy is looking to take the fight. Hyper carry Zergi is uncontested and looking to finish the fight in style there. Going into the cloud form, Storm Cloud, as he just now reigns over the Walker, and they'll be able to pick that one up as well. Again, mid-boss is up just together, and also that remain for Abrahams at the moment. And there's just nothing that they can really do in this position. They're somewhat helpless to just watch.
They're just fighting. They're even though they're down numbers, they're fighting. They're scaring back actually above Enjars with just 2. I mean, the strength of Geist very real. At this point of the game, 33k souls. She's been quietly farming up a Storm, kind of a same story as last game. Maybe not as explosive as the Wraith, but again, good mid-boss push right now. I don't know that this is contestable with Sonya out of the fight for 50 seconds. That long spawn really hurts, even without Infernus or Mirage. I mean, Zergi's still alive, and I don't know if anyone's strong enough on the Abraham side to challenge the 7 in the mid-boss pit.
There we go. Crystal's dropping down, and only 3 players up here for Abrahams. They're going to go for it, do what they can. Any steals would be valuable, and they get none. And they're going to get wiped here in this position. There's no way out at this point.
Yeah, good Italo-san from Obakim. Curses on 2, and they're going to get all the cleanup. Shiv does get a parry, but it's not going to make much difference in the end. Zergi on fire now and has just skyrocketed in soul. Some of those kills, right? He's at 45. He's going to hit the full build here on 7 pretty shortly. Earn is snagged by Vrake, and this one should be a pretty easy dunk considering how scared Abrahams have to play right now.
I do actually wonder, Jake, if the math is a little bit different on how much you value sacrificing lives for the lower percentage chance to steal a rejuve. Now the rejuve is 3 minutes instead of 4.
Yeah, you wonder, like, maybe Abraham's, you know, in the fullness of time, maybe not going for a contest like that. That's, you know, relatively low percentage, I'd say. But it comes down to the parries, and Buffingers are able to find them this time. They're in a pretty strong position, I think, to equalize this series now. Send us to a decisive game 3, maybe what the fans are going to be hoping for, given the pedigree of both of these squads. And for Buffingers, it feels like they've righted the ship, right? This is, you know, from here on out, right? It's very clear that there's a extremely different tenor in this game, in large part due to, I think, Vrake and Obakam have been so active this game, so ready to get into the fights. They've been able to punish Taz, although Taz hold on a very deep hook. Is that Zergy pulled deep instead? Buffingers have to double down, bringing everyone to this fight. You cannot give up a kill onto that 7. He forced the team fight, but under some uncertain circumstances. No one on Abrahams is going down just yet. Taz may be in trouble. A 3-man Itali Losan, but 1 rejuve has been claimed. Taz goes down for it. The rest of Abrahams, though, still relatively healthy. I think this is a comfortable team fight for them thus far. Buffingers would love to be able to claim a shrine at this point, and maybe just back out. I mean, Abraham's still healthy on 5 players. I'm a little scared for Buffingers to stick around. They still have 2 rejuves, though, so maybe they want to make some value out of those.
Insane damage put down by Zergy. As the assault continues, the shrine now getting focused by Buff Enjoyers, but still 2 rejuves. They feel, I think, more than comfortable to maintain this attack, and that bird just bounces off of Buff Enjoyers at this point. And there we go, looking for a patron drop now. Out comes the Storm Cloud from Zergy, raining above everybody in the base. You can't fight underneath this.
Oh, nice Spirit Snare. So well played from T-Dreams. The curse cancels. Zergy's ult activated by the charge shot there out of the air. And that'll be enough to maybe get it back up. But Zergy says, hey, maybe I want to continue fighting this. Playing around the leech after all. He's not very cooldown reliant. Happy to bring the spiritual overflow to bear in the fight. And this looks to be a bloodbath. Abrahams felt a little desperate trying to get some counter kills here. And Zergy sniffed that out post haste, just laying down the damage with this surge of power. Devastates the opposition. And this looks to be game. Buffingers cleaning up. Abraham's not able to mount a resistance, kind of desperate, stepping out of the base, trying to get some sort of a chase down kill, and a good call from Zergy finishes game 2 in favor of Buffingers, setting us to that game 3. And it was hard fought. There were moments where it felt like Abrahams had the lead, but it feels like the objective gameplay so much stronger for Buffingers in this game 2. They felt completely different than what we saw in that opener.
Who out there said this was gonna be a 2-0? Surely it wasn't me. I didn't say that. I said it was going to 3, right, guys?
That's what I had.
I mean, game 1 was grim, guys. I feel like if you're hopeful after game 1, you're a true fan, and maybe the true fans are rewarded now.
I never doubted them a single moment. Lightbringer as well. I mean, we knew what was up as we asked him what the hell's going on with who's playing what, but man, like Zergy popped off, showing what 7 can do, showing what a late game 7 can do, and showing the OG hero who was an M1 carry, a hard carry, way back in the days of the early stages of Deadlock, back when like on 4 lane and even somewhat when it came to 3 lane, how strong a 7 can be. I was surprised though. MG Dreams ended up getting some decent stacks. I think he had like 6 stacks, so that was like 48 spell power coming, or spirit power coming on through, but obviously not enough in the end, and together just really couldn't be as dominant as a force as they needed him to be in this game. But if you were to, you know, call one standout player besides maybe Zergy, because that's really easy, the obvious one here, Dan, who would you give it to on Buffingers' side?
Oof, who would I give it to? Okay, so probably I want to say Obakam, honestly, actually, because I felt like the Apollo play was really great, and I think especially some of the chase downs on Sign Sniper, I think were pretty impactful at the times that they happened, and those are one-on-ones that Obakam was winning, and I think that kind of slows Sign Sniper down just enough to really allow the team to just not have to worry about that threat, because Sign Sniper was doing an excellent job, not just keeping up but staying ahead in most cases in the early to mid.
I mean, Sonya was on a pretty decent kill streak for a majority of the game as well, and he was, you know, decently far ahead of Zergy, but then again, Zergy just kept farming up, trying to keep on par with him time and time again here. But the switch up that we're seeing out of Buffingers, Jake, I got to pick your brain about this a little bit, because this is not really fully the lineup that we expect, not necessarily in terms of who is on the team, but more about who's playing who here. I mean, Cosmetical, and first isn't really a hero that you would think would be true to his style and true to the impact he can have in the games with Buffingers.
I mean, Infernus stocks have just been seemingly only rising in, you know, the last weeks and months. The lane feels really good from him, like putting out a ton of pressure on the opposition. That I think in large part it's Cosmetical's performance in the early lane that puts Zergy on such a fantastic trajectory into this game. Although, of course, it's the big team fights in the late game that really seal the deal for Zergy. I think Dan's right to talk about Obakim, though. I mean, the aggression from him and Vrake as well. I feel like the two of them really have to be given a ton of credit in this game. Like you see Listic's game on the Billy is night and day compared to our opener match between these two teams. And I think a lot of that comes because things are set up much more comfortably. Like everyone groups up, they're trying to punish Vrake and Obakim, they're trying to get these aggressive flankers and punish them. And that's where Billy can really shine when, he's not necessarily having to tank every single skill himself in this game. So Bovingers show us a much more balanced draft and a decisive win here in game 2. I think this one is going to be a banger for game 3 in the series. Both teams have had the opportunity now to kind of see what the opponent is bringing and try to adjust.
I'm getting a little bit worried though, Dan. Mirage continuing to be undefeated today. I mean, it's a pretty easy shot in the dark here. Do you think he's going to be first picked going into game 3?
You know what? I mean, probably. I think it's really interesting though, because right now in Deadlock, there's a lot of like first bans and first pick, like in that category, like first ban, first pick. There's actually quite a lot of different heroes right now. So what's cool about that is it does give you flexibility in scenarios like this to kind of mix things up. So we could see it for sure.
I mean, I feel like I sound like a broken record, but I mean, Mirage was just doing terrible when teams were trying to play him as an M1 hard carry hero, like the main carry hero for your team. But honestly, Jake, like, was like 2 weeks ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, everyone just started playing Mirage as like that secondary support, and it started to work out. And we've seen a complete change in the success of Mirage. And I think that's also what's so cool about Deadlock is you might see a hero that might look dead, but if you play him a different style, play him maybe a slightly different build, it can still excel and cause these dubs that have been coming through for him.
Yeah, also to see the hard carry 7 do so well. I mean, I think it's a testament to just what you said, that there are yet unexplored depths to Deadlock. I mean, we're still so early in this game. There's a high rate of patches. Things are changing. I mean, like we're having a new patch between last game and this game, right? With at least a very, very minor change, Shiv being kind of reverted in some ways. Although to me, that doesn't look like a huge game changer. It maybe shifts the build, but I still think Shiv could be still quite good, and still the killing blow looks strong to me. But that's the nature of the game right now. I think you're absolutely right. There's a huge benefit to being a team that can figure out something new that really works and find the way to implement it into your game. You can win tournaments off.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we might have to head to a slightly longer break than normal, because that means all the players, all of our spectators and observers need to update their clients to make sure everything is on par and ready to go. But I promise you, when we get back from that break, we're going to have a cracker of a match here to finish off our EU series before we head over to North America. So go get some water, go get something to eat, go stand up and have your hydration break, and we'll see you on the other side of this break. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to another patch update. We're going to go over the entire patch that just dropped between game 1 and game 2 here in our money match. And it is Shiv-centric and only Shiv related here. So why don't you jump us into it, Dan?
I'm just wondering if the devs will drop. They should just drop another update just to troll us. So we just have to keep doing this over and over and just extend the show. It'd be kind of amusing. I could get on board with that. But yeah, so Shiv, I think the main thing really is, production's directing me. So we have less ammo consumed from 5 to 4 for the right click now. Fair enough. And then also, I think the other big one is that change to slice and dice, no longer being in melee. Something that will proc melee items, I think really is pretty significant in how that impacts how we were about to see Shiv played and developed in the builds.
It's interesting to me because even together in the last couple games, it wasn't going that hard on the melee items. I mean, he built like 1,600 invest in melee, I think. I think he did build Stalker one time, which I don't know that you would typically build on Shiv, maybe without the melee being able to proc that item when you connect that point blank range. Slice and Dice, though, it does just get a flat damage buff, which, is pretty nice for Shiv, right? In terms of just, hey, a little extra damage goes a long way, especially if you're able to chain that Slice and Dice, over and over again, as Shiv is wont to do in the team fights. So a little bit of back to normal, but it's also like a back to normal with a couple buffs. I do think this bloodletting change is probably a nerf, but still, the other than a very slight pullback on the enemy health threshold, it's just as good, I think, as it was. It really is just maybe we won't see the gun invest anymore since you've taken the melee off. Maybe it'll just be back to the pure spirit Shiv, but I still think Shiv is going to feel pretty good. I think Killing Blow is still going to feel a lot more consistent and effective in team fights.
I swear, if you're one of those viewers out there that was watching like the first 15, 20 minutes of the show, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna come back when these casters are done talking about the patch, and you came back right now at this moment, I swear the last 3 hours we've not been talking about the patch. We had something drop between game 1 and game 2 here of our Monday match, but we're gonna head into the draft soon, momentarily, once things are ready to go. But yeah, some just subtle adjustments to Shiv once again. Won't be surprised if it didn't pick yet again, though, to be honest. Obviously, Taylor didn't look that good when it came to it here in game 2, but sometimes you have good games, sometimes you have bad games, but together more so has good games when it comes down to it. But I'm more curious, ban Mirage if you don't have first pick, or sorry, yeah, if you don't have first pick, Buffendor is maybe banned it away instead this time. But also interesting to see that Abrahams is just doing pocket bans consistently because they're that worried about Buffendor's playing it.
I mean, it's a signature hero for cosmetical, and you know, it's just Pocket is one of the most terrifying late game heroes. I think you're able to get super farm into this hero, get the Spirit Burn online, Max Affliction, a refresher, right? It just starts to be devastating, and it just feels so bad when you get a 3/4 mana Affliction. You know, it feels like the fight is over. Like it's so hard to come back from that.
Hey.
But Buffendors respond. They say it's our turn. We're not letting the Mirage through. What was the one that was banned in this slot last time?
Rem?
Yeah, it was Rem, which, yeah, actually, in hindsight, kind of feels like a weird ban. So the Mirage feels like, yeah, like I don't feel like you're at all upset about this for Buff Enjoyers.
Interesting. So Holiday is available. Doorman is available.
Kind of crazy to see the drop off in Doorman, because we've had a couple of games now where it's been open to be chosen, but it's just been nowhere to be seen, and it's not being actually highly prioritized when it comes to bans. Cosmetical Shiv.
I do think though, like after the reversion where, okay, Shiv is not like such a different hero anymore. He's like, okay, he's a spirit damage hero, right? With Slice and Dice in particular. But it is just buffed, right? He has like better killing blows. He's got, you know, like more damage on the base Slice and Dice. Like this is just, I feel like now you kind of look back, it's not a Shiv rework. It's just a Shiv buff. I mean, I guess the ammo cost on the secondary fire is like that sort of hurts, but even that has been buffed a little bit in the most recent change. I am not mad at that. Doorman, though, does go right back the other way. Abraham saying, hey, this character's still viable. I'm curious to see how they combo around it, what they end up picking to support this Doorman.
Are they going to ban Mo and Krill now on the turn? Because remember, Doorman, Mo and Krill, Abrahams, I believe, did that to Buff Enjoyers, or was that Leviathan?
I like it.
I got you.
I will say, I think Holiday is pretty good against that since you could lasso the Mo out of the ulti, but I agree. I think that is it. I think they're not going to pick it early, but they might just grab that 12th. Like, no one's really playing Mo right now, so I do think there's a threat for Abrahams grabbing it. I don't even know if Buff Enjoyers can justify the ban on it, because it may just not come in anyway.
Have someone like me fight for them.
All right. I became Apollo. Again, perhaps. The interesting thing about Zergy, by the way, is that people don't tend to ever contest Zergy's picks. So like, you know, he doesn't have to get the Venator, you know, it doesn't really care. Like, oh, I'll play 7, I'll play Warden. Like, no one else has really been doing that. So it's kind of insane to have that capacity. And as we see, Rem wants to get again banned.
Are you going to go for Viscous here off the ban turn for Buff Enjoyers? I think they might with the Ram ban. I don't hate the Viscous here, but although like maybe the rubber band snaps back too much if you go Viscous here, because that's a lot of early game, right? And with game 1, we criticized them for not really having any playmaking, but this would be 3 kind of early game tempo playmakers. Not the end of the world, but that is relatively heavy investment from Buff Enjoyers if they pick the Viscous here. With the Ram ban just kind of suggests that they are thinking that way. No, they grabbed the 7 right off of the ban turn. Pretty interesting. I think Viscous is fantastic for Abraham.
I'm calling it out. D-Mob's going punch build 7 again, like he did with Abrahams in his, I think, final week with them as a team. And Zergy's going to play a Warden here. But I like how you brought that up, Dan, because I think Buff Enjoyers are one of the few teams out there in general, I'd actually take a look at NA, that does give Zergy like last pick a lot of the times, and they're fine with it. They're more than okay with that, because he shows he's such a master of so many different heroes, and he makes pretty much anything really work in those situations. So I'm glad you brought that up.
It is a unique way that they can orient the value, like, you know, what they value at which point of the draft, which is unique. So it's a very interesting facet of why Buff Enjoyers maybe have been on top for a while. Though again, we're trying to find out if that's going to change here, because Abraham's in this last game.
Oh my God, I was kidding about D-Mob 7.
It might actually be. Well, I will say I could see. I actually don't mind in a way. I don't mind 7 also as a secondary carry. or like a a dual carry alongside Venator, because especially with 7 with like a shred focused build where you don't play so much for your own damage, but instead for the shred is nice. And the Drifter, okay, so Buff Enjoyers gonna gamble pretty heavily on their ability to play the tempo game, but I actually think Drifter is pretty decent this game. It lets you chase Doorman when he escapes through his door, it lets you chase GT down, get on top of him when he's up in the air and putting down that damage. Also, when Darkness, it's pretty hard for Viscus to get the cube save as he might normally want to. But Geist is going to be the pick for Abrahams, giving them a really strong late game carry response. Drifter games, though, always a spicy one, right? It feels like whenever this hero comes out, things are going to be explosive one way or the other. It feels like he either falls flat or just completely takes over the game.
Well, I mean, if Listic dies like 5 times in the first 6 minutes, then Buff Enjoyers are going to win the game. That's typically how it goes with him on Drifter. Thinking back to Colt earlier on, he definitely fulfilled that quota early in the game, but they didn't get the victory in that one. But very interesting. 7 Venator. We don't know who's going to be on who necessarily. But as you brought up, Jake, I mean, if you look at Mirage again, like a secondary M1 hero, 7, I love what you said. Shred build on 7 can do some serious work for this team, which is very bursty, very high damage. You want to get those kills extremely quickly. I think you might be onto something here.
Especially the Spirit Shred, right, on the max power surge, and then, of course, the Spirit Shred coming back on the Slice and Dice. That's like 2 unique forms of Spirit Shred that are only available to Buff Enjoyers. And so you start buying a few items on top of that and like adding more Shred to the package. And pretty soon, even these like tankier heroes on Abrahams are going to be going down very quick. So I think Abrahams, luckily they have a ton of damage on their side. So I don't think they need to necessarily kind of focus too hard on building tanky. They just play for the cube and for the most part play to just kill the opponent. And that's where I think Doorman is going to be particularly important for Abrahams. Like we've seen Doorman be a hero that can have a relatively middling economy and still top damage the server, just doing ridiculous damage with the call bell. So we'll have to see if that ends up playing this way in game 3.
Mr. Dan, what's your thoughts on the topic brought up about Drifter Ultimate being used to counter the save out of Viscus? I think that's an interesting topic that I never really thought about before.
Yeah, I do think it's. I think there's a lot of interesting applications to it because it's pretty unique. Because I don't think we have anyone else that kind of limits your vision in any way that's comparable. So yeah, and I think even Geist, like a Geist swap, for example, might be like difficult to like plan and figure out like your positioning for. And because when you're trying to swap people, you're really trying to you need that awareness that you get from your vision. So I think also birding people. There's definitely a lot of applications. I think to the blind. I think of course the Viscous saves is got to certainly be one of the big ones because reliably Drifter, you're gonna be jumping people, you're gonna be popping that ult, and at that point that person is isolated. And in addition to that, obviously Drifter is going to get all the bonuses from the solitary kill or the solitary status from the darkness as well. So it's going to be able to chase people down. So I don't know. I'm actually a big believer in Drifter right now.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading into now the final match in EU before we kick things off in North America. Will it be Abrahams able to overcome Buff Enjoyers and take the title back for themselves for the first time in an extremely long time? Or will Buff Enjoyers hold on strong? Let's find out with our casters of DDK and Jake.
Yeah, I think.
Oh,
go ahead.
Okay, I will take your politeness and I will run with it. I actually think that Buff Enjoyers are going to do the Buff Enjoyers thing. Even though Abraham's just won, obviously in a best of 5, I kind of feel like this is like a typical like Buff Enjoyers series where like maybe you think there's weakness, you see a little bit of a funny draft, and they actually just smash it. That's my feeling. What about you?
Oof, I think this one is going to be a bellwether game. I do think Buff Enjoyers, I always favor the team that has won more recently. Like the momentum of the series is certainly in the favor of Buff Enjoyers, but these two teams are so experienced against one another, you might discount the mental game between them. Like neither team, I don't think, is going to be flustered in this kind of a game. It's going to come down to their individual performances. But it's Buff Enjoyers with a couple of, unconventional choices in terms of the hero picks, right? I think especially the Drifter, Feast or Famine. I think you are right to say, though, maybe the hero is a little underrated. I think people who, as teams get better and better at really leveraging the unique attributes that he brings to bear, maybe he can have a place, in the higher level metagame, especially if he's able to do well in the lane, which often I feel like is a bit of a struggle for Drifter at this level. I think people are just so aware of the tempo that he plays on and how to punish him.
Yeah, and I think, we've seen so far today Drifter in lanes that were kind of hard to succeed in. So we can have a look and see where Listic is playing the Drifter. It is interesting actually. Listic has been been playing a lot of Drifter and Billy on the in matchmaking. You can see those are the two heroes he's been playing a lot when you like open up the scoreboard for EU. So kind of interesting. So Listic is someone that if we're gonna see very good Drifter play, my bets will on Listic to be the person to show it to us.
Definitely a player who's got the confidence of his convictions in terms of being willing to play stuff that others maybe aren't willing to touch. Sonya on this Infernus, though, could be a real problem for Zergy. I mean, we were just talking about this before, how Infernus, kind of a beast on lane, and Seven has a huge head hitbox. It's very easy to ignite him, and that's why he's playing so passively against Infernus. But ultimately, Infernus is always going to get those opportunities, right? Just to threaten those creeps and, pressure players down. And Sonya has been playing really well today, I think, overall. So I think if he can have a hot start and slow Zergy down, this could be a very different 7 game than the one we just saw. Nice call bell, hits on 2, and GT wants to be able to turn these into some more kills. Hits that power shot, connects in, and maybe a second kill on the cards. I don't think the burst is going to come in for Listic. Harry, though, is missed, but it's not enough. Taz finds a 2-piece on that one, and so Torman has been banned out for so many games, and we're seeing a little bit of the reason why. Even going to steal away the additional small camp and door their way out of here. Really nice play here from the 2 players in Abraham's mid lane.
Yeah, honestly, Doorman and Empty Dreams on Talon. I mean, that's a pretty disgusting combo to be laning against. The poke is ridiculous and highly consistent. Oh, looking to go for a punish here off the rip. Okay, is this... I don't know. They can chase... Is he going to try, though? He's going to try to chase it down. Oh, so close. Ren comes in, and there's the luggage cart to save Taz from dying and going down there, but... That was very close.
Getting those heals off. Nice for Empty Dreams. Stabilizes after a couple kills in the lane. Drifter trying to get some counters. Spirit Snare doesn't come down just in time. GT wants to get some damage traded back. Ballistic kind of gets out with getting the full load of cooldowns bursted onto GT. Making that kill seem possible, but with the deficit existing already in the mid lane, seeming a little scary for Drifter, right? We talk about, okay, this hero can be feast or famine. The ultimate is nice, but you want to be more than a walking ultimate, right? You want to be able to be a threat and hunt down those individual kills, get some stacks going, and maybe snowball the game. But this mid lane keeps going the way it has been. It doesn't seem to be the case here. Stalker's Mark misses this time.
Yeah, it's just hell to play against 2 heroes that have such strong and consistent poke damage. It's very, very challenging, and it just puts the pressure on the rest of your team on the side lanes to do a good job. And speaking of which, Obikim did a great job in the previous game. Took the chase down Sonya Sniper. Just get him pretty low. I don't know that there's any finish to be had here, but they're forcing some respect.
Sorely needed here. Sonya takes a lot of damage in some trades there, so Obikim doing well to maybe suppress this Infernus by a little bit of comfortable room for Seven to work as he builds towards a suppressor. It's going to make those ignitions a little bit harder to find for Sonya Sniper.
Oh my god, just again.
Shots just keep connecting. Another missing the Stalker's Mark too. The stick does still get him with a nice high damage connection.
Unrelenting pressure, and now into the bridge buffs. See who gets the better of these. Abraham's typically a very good team at those bridge buffs game, but we'll have a chase down here. Sending... Oh my god. Okay, you gotta be careful. The Cosmetical gets caught there, slapped with the club a couple times.
And the prize is a vitality buff. Both teams battling over the boost pad, knowing that whoever can stay alive through the fight is going to claim a vitality buff, and that's perfect for Billy. Gets a kill, and now he's going to be able to sustain through the lane. I mean, this is the dream buff to find for Billy. And speaking of dreams, man, mid lane is annihilated. Tower down at 530. Empty Dreams and Taz both going to open up their ultimates from that take. But talk about 2 heroes who love to snowball, who have a lot of damage to bring into these fights. Mid lane for Abraham's going fantastically. Side lanes also very hot starts for Abraham's. I mean, Buffingers find themselves already in a little bit of a scary spot this early into the game.
Yeah, definitely. It feels a lot more difficult. Riposte, though, looking to get that stun. Extra damage from the lunges. It's not going to be enough, though. Sonya will survive, and Obikim will go down for his troubles. And Abraham's off to another great start. I mean, we've seen quite a few games of them today where they get off to a very, very solid pace. And I think that mid lane is just so ridiculous. Arzo takes down Listic in the meantime. Listic, who is just struggling to just be in this game on the server at the moment with how the mid lane started out.
Yeah, it's a nightmare scenario for them for sure. Doorman. I mean, Doorman and GT, like, that is a rough look for Drifter, right? This is not a tanky hero who can really sustain with that much incoming damage. Billy Chain comes in. They're going to try and commit on this Venator. They're going to pull him back down to potentially killable location. The bash down's really starting to hurt, and the damage here comes in. Empty Dreams assists that kill alongside Saint. And D-Mob goes down. Definitely one of those key players to get farmed up, but it feels like with the lead Abrahams has, it's only a matter of time. Buffenger's got to feed some of their players to the Wolves. Doesn't seem like they can take a stand-up fight until they can get some kind of comeback objective.
The other thing I'll say about Listic is I feel like he got kind of did a little dirty having to play Drifter in mid, because he's not only is the lane matchup horrible, but in mid you're kind of a close range hero, and mid has like all these big ranges, so you can't really like on the side lanes at least there's this play that you can kind of force some close range trades, but that's just not possible really in mid in the same way. So yeah, it just kind of sucks for Listic. I feel bad for him.
It's no apologies in competitive play. Maybe Listic would like one, but I don't think he's going to get one. He's going to get a fight. Taz, though, super low. Has a lot of farm on the Stormman, so would be a really nice kill to find. So Obakim looking for that. Doesn't quite have the Italios on just yet, and so won't be able to finish that kill. For Taz to get a nice reset and come back into the fight, potentially scary. Buffengers are looking for a battle back here at this moment. They've got a little bit of an ultimate economy advantage, and they want to leverage it for kills. Quick pause comes in, but off the pause, it's going to be right into the battle. Vrake does have lasso. Definitely some power to fight back here, especially alongside Shiv. Billy seems tanky, but could go down pretty quick with Shiv and Holiday wheeling on him under tower.
Let's go to Broadway.
Okay, can I get out? That's the question. Rising Ram,
Nice
just
cube.
escaping the killing blow.
Really nice cube to block the execution there.
Uh-oh, bug comes through. Oh, close.
That actually might be enough. No, the bloodletting's not going to kill him. Okay, he's got enough tankiness to survive through it.
Okay, but this is a 6k advantage for Abrahams. You know, they're still powering forwards here. You got also off to a great start here on the Geist.
There's been really good kill attempts by Buffengers, but Abrahams has been much better this game at holding on to the lead. They aren't giving these key kills back. And now at 8 minutes, right, they're a lot stronger on the map. They're going to be able to claim the lion's share of these Sinner sacrifices and be able to convert that into a bigger net worth advantage. A lot of damage done on this Guardian, but without Lasso, you know, there's no genuine threat really for Buffengers here. Shivolt also down. Listic super low. Has to go back to base. Nearly goes down, and, you know, adding insult to injury in terms of his net worth.
All I can say is Buffengers are really going to need that rift to go their way. That's going to be very important. They have some decent rift fighting capabilities, though, so we'll see if they're able to do it. But, you know, comeback rift would be pretty huge. So it's going to be important to get the lane priority into that 11-minute mark. Not quite there just yet.
This is the guy's dream. He's living the Zergy life of last game. A free side in the map, able to just steal a ton of farm away. Billy has gone very deep, needs to door his way out of there. Drifter does have the mark on, but he's a little bit scared to hard commit. Darkness online, though, so maybe there's an opportunity for Buffengers, but with Billy slipping out of that, I wonder if there's any other genuine kill opportunities, and they seem to think the answer is no. That's Italios on and the Drifter all both out. Contest for the buff does go the way of Listic, but can't really stick around to make use of it, at least not yet.
It's actually kind of nice, though, you know, getting the gun buff for Listic's going to help to make up for some of the lack of farm that he has right now. To make him a bit more relevant in some of these fights. And again, we've got a potential rift at that 11-minute mark. The urn has been collected in the meantime by Together on Billy, carrying that one across. And there is a fight for position here. This right side Guardian, a Buffengers. That's not going to last for too much longer. Although the lunges come on through. There's the cube to keep Taz in good stead.
An ideal cube, but okay, he does door his way out, and the repulse for Apollo is nice, but he's gonna get locked down under the tower, and Taz gonna slip away. I don't know if there's gonna be follow-up. Ballistic trying to path in for a potential chase down there, but the rest of the team supports. Obakim is in super deep. They're trying to grab a punish on him. He has enough mobility to maybe slip away for now, but I don't know if you can say the same for Vrake. Okay, he does pad away, but the bird is good and slips around the corner just in time. What a find for Empty Dreams. Empty Dreams, though, is found while vulnerable in the bird form, and now even together called into question. This could be the comeback fight the Buffingers were looking for. They're up 2-1 in the trade for now, and there's a healthy and ready to fight Demov here on Venator.
Yeah, fantastic play. And again, Rift is potentially something that could spawn in this lane momentarily, and it is in full control by Buff Enjoyers. That would be the RNG gods definitely smiling down upon Buff Enjoyers if that happens. Oh, lockdown onto Cosmetical. That's at least something coming back into the hands of Abrahams after that exchange, but yeah, that big lead that Abrahams were enjoying, it's all but evaporated. As Buff Enjoyers will lose that right side Guardian. We'll see what is possible here in these future team fights. But both, yeah, they're really enjoying those buffs as well. Demov and Listic, yeah, they picked up those buffs which will be expiring.
I mean, Taz has had a very solid game so far, though. It's like been in every fight pretty much. Still doing pretty comfortably well on the farm game. Arzo and Zergy neck and neck from a farm perspective. And Zergy has farmed almost all of his camps on this side of the map, so it's going to be hard for him to keep this same pace of farm as he defends his Walker. Guy still has a lot of camps over here to clear, so still advantage Arzo, I'd say, in the carry head-to-head. Game, though, too close to call. Minor advantage for Abrahams, but as we've seen, Buffingers absolutely have the capacity to fight back.
You can see both teams pretty chill right now because, again, they know that the Rift is due to be spawning sometime soon, so making sure to keep that those waves in check, and it's going to be on the right side here where there is Abrahams with the initial position, but enough time for everybody to get across as well.
See if Zergy or Arzo wants to come participate in this one. I think either player, either carry could kind of come in and make the difference. Big fight coming in. Looks like they're trying to get a gank off on Saint early. He has just bought a knockdown, so has a lot of chase threat as he lives for now. And ooh, even Listic comes in looking really desperate for this early kill. The roll is out from Saint. Is he going to survive through this? Obakim maybe wants to find the finish. Knows there's an incredibly low Viscous, but he's going to get locked up into the Doorman ult. Big cap from Buff Enjoyers, but Abrahams make it in time to contest. Do they actually have the manpower to win this engagement? Maybe so, as Arzo has come into this engagement. Zergy's gonna be able to clean up a Walker likely on the other side of the map, but if the earn is the prize, it might be well worth it. Even that though, far from certain. Buffinger is fighting incredibly well despite Zergy not being in this fight. It may still go their way, which would be a massive edge for them. Arzo doing what he can to make sure that doesn't happen, but his teammates dropping by his ears. Geist uses the swap now. This is her moment. She needs to find some kills to keep this fight in contest. She's the one player remaining for Abrahams in this zone, and this level of numerical disadvantage is very hard to respond to.
Yeah, and there's more help coming though. Billy back into the fight here together, getting in just in the nick of time. Chain Gang comes through as well to try to equalize the situation. Oh, the parry is fantastic from Obakim. Just delaying things long enough there. Obakim will go down. And my goodness, Arzo survived through all of that. And the timing could not have been better from together.
I will say, you hold the Rift to a draw, which is fantastic for Abrahams because it looked like maybe you were going to lose that too. But Zergy clears a Walker and doesn't come to that fight. And so he catapults ahead now in the soul values up to 17K. He's going to be leading the game. And he's kind of shades of game 2, right? Getting that crazy snowball on 7, accelerating the farm more and more. And Abrahams are damaged across the board. They don't have full resource. They don't have full health. It's going to be potentially hard for them to defend this mid Guardian. 3 slowing hexes, by the way, just bought by Abrahams. Okay, they're really investing right now in shutting down Obakim and Cosmetical in particular. Maybe also Listic, wanting to prevent him from teleporting after those stalker marks.
Yeah, definitely nice to really kind of guarantee that you get some of these kills, which really makes a difference. And see, kind of spell collected there to help with some of those problems. Zergy with a lot of buys there. The urn being carried across. It's in the hands of Demov on the Venator for Buff Enjoyers.
It feels like whoever picks up the urn just dunks it, like inevitably. It feels like there's no ability to contest the urn now because you don't know where the other guy is and they're able to just throw it in so easily. Nice counterspell, blocks the power shot, mitigates that damage taken on Obakim.
Okay, Sanya Sniper's here. He's looking for this. And they do also have Saint. They're looking to actually really go for the ambush here. And in this version of Deadlock, you don't know how many people will be with the urn. It's actually quite a posse here behind Demov that's ready to help support the drop-in. And it's going to be pretty successful.
Obicim in mid. It's going to be the trade. Does counterspell. The follow-up damage has one last chance, but yeah, eventually just doesn't have the HP. Finished by a bullet to the head from the doorman. And a lot of those this game from Taz. Double buff on the field for Buffingers, and they're strong ones, right? Cosmetical with the vitality buff, Zergy with Spirit. They're pretty strong right now. I think there's definitely a moment of weakness here for Abrahams. Nonetheless, they've been able to hold on to this mid Guardian. It's providing them a nice presence on the map. Powerful position from which to keep this game in contest, but it does just feel like Buffingers are slowly starting to eke their way back into this game and maybe have even taken an advantage now, Dan.
It is really interesting, because Ozzo has done a great job for Abrahams, catching up indeed, staying relevant. Demov on Versa and Zergy on 7, both looking very dangerous on those M1s though. But in the meantime, we do have the engagement taken onto this mid Guardian of Abrahams here. Buffinjoy is trying to find the value. Is there any disruption here? Looking to turn the fight, and that's a great bird. Finish off Cosmetical, start to eat away at that front line.
That knockdown's gonna bite. Geist even runs down that kill, and they even hold the mid Guardian. So the missed lasso from Break ends up costing effectively 2 players their lives. Buffingers wanted to make a really decisive play to take the mid Guardian, but Abrahams were more than ready to receive them, had a ton of players. They saw that play coming, and they're gonna be rewarded for it. Escalating by from Zergy, though. He's like marching inexorably toward that ultra late game 7. Arzo gonna be a real challenge for him as we get towards the late game. That amount of shred, right? You can have that spirit resilience, but there is so much shred in this game. The spirit scaling is gonna be kind of crazy for Buff Majors in this one.
All right. Game gets a little bit calmer here. Arzo, though, still powering forwards. I feel like it's been a minute since we saw a truly successful hypercarry Geist game.
I don't think that's crazy to say. I mean, she's definitely feels like very farm dependent, needs to have a really solid net worth status. I will say, though, I think if both Geist and Seven are like equally farmed, I feel like I favor Geist. I mean, Seven is such a better farmer that usually he's just going to be ahead in net worth in an even game. But if Geist keeps up, I think just the raw bullet damage output is going to be very hard to deal with. Like, Geist is a much better hero at just pure 1v1ing the enemy carry than Seven is. To see how that ends up going, I think Zergy really wants to be able to get items like Unstoppable online in this game to block some of those big stun and control tools that will be brought to bear against him, considering his farm level.
All right, both teams are pretty quiet right now. Most of the farm on the map is gone. We're going to take things quite cautiously. We're getting close to that 20-minute mark.
There's always boxes to farm, Dan. There's always this is Deadlock. There's always another box.
And there it is.
And the rift in the left lane. It's going to be a one-on-one on the other side of the map. Sonya versus Listic. Isolation should help the Drifter, but sole advantage for Sonya. So see if that one plays out. Or Sonya just decides to join the team fight. These rifts have been hotly contested this game. Every ultimate available here on the map. Obicim goes in very early, very aggressive, and there are a ton of Abraham's players here to punish, but it's actually Billy who seems to potentially be going down first, but no, Obicim drops before the curse can come in. Demov had to go very deep for that Iradomini to finish the kill. There's a lot of damage across the board. Viscous getting run down. Cosmetical finds that execution. There will be a punish here on the other side of the map. A walker to go down, but winning this fight, getting these super troopers, this is going to be mid-boss from Buff Enjoyers. They're going to send the troopers down that lane. It has to be responded to by Abrahams, and then essentially a free opportunity to go for the mid-boss.
There might be, I feel like Abrahams can definitely do a challenge here. They've got players respawning. If they could just create a long enough fight, there might be real legs to this challenge. See what they can make happen here. They also have Doorman. Taz does have the Baroness available here. There's the Eternal Night, though. That's going to really disrupt their ability.
It's cooking them so hard, but some all three. Are you kidding me? Abrahams, they just do it every single time, playing off the door in the pit. Taz doing everything, and the Unstopped Seminole is pretty. It looks nice, but what does it really accomplish at the end of the day? Abraham's evaded almost entirely, utilizing that doorman door. And even Seven now, caught dead to rights. The Owl screaming on its way in to finish this kill. Sonya get the job done himself on the Infernus. That is an insane result to that fight. It looks so well set up. Arzo not even able to come, was still off the respawn, but Abraham's almost in that moment reassert their advantage in the game. They walk away with not just 2 rejuves, but an opportunity to clear a lot of the map, mid-walker included.
Abraham's in a really good position here to just absolutely tear up the map. Also 25k, gonna be able to farm a lot more. And by the time Demov is up here, like all the waves of lanes are gonna be pushed against them. There's gonna be no map control. You can see basically there's this huge just void of jungle, which is on the side of Buff Enjoy's map. Like there's just like no value there. You're gonna have to go deeper and be at risk if you want to get farm outside of the safe territory. So crazy fight there by Abraham's. Great timing. And now in an insanely commanding position, really.
Yeah. Empty Dreams. These bullets hurt, man. And he buys a superior stamina now, so Great Talon's going to be a lot more capable of like sticking around deeper into the fights. Dispel Magic queued up next to deal with whether it's 7 stun or the Shiv Knives or the Stalker's Mark. Definitely a highly valuable item in this game for Abrahams. An attempt comes in from Zergy. Dispel Magic available for Infernus. Going to hold it for now. Doesn't respect the 7 stun. And for good reason. The rest of the team's here behind him. They're coming in to assist. Natalia Lawson up into the sky for Obakim, but there's a bird coming to chase down anybody who falls too low in the HP. Counterspell's out now. Looks like a free connection, and Obakim just absolutely popped. I was surprised that actually finished him in 1.
Yeah, some serious stacks actually. I think almost at 50 spirit power from the birds. Empty Dreams has been showing today. The King of the Talons. Oh no. It's going to get deleted coming out of this one. Oh my god. Absolutely deleted off the server. Goodbye.
The darkness is thrown in to try to like inject some uncertainty into Abraham's, but instead it just accomplishes almost nothing. And now you kind of genuinely consider a base siege. Still, the rejuve timer, you can feel that change. They just don't really have time to convert this into a base siege, at least not with the rejuves. And considering the HP across the board, they're going to choose the safer play. Definitely a lot of respect between these two teams in contrast to the challenger match where Abrahams were kind of styling on their opponents. Now it's definitely much more of a battle of equals. Still, winning that rejuve fight so decisively and so shockingly, I would say, by Abrahams has given them the real edge in this game.
By the way, I love that if with Doorman, that the doors have the portal sounds. It's so awesome. It's a lovely thing that Valve can do because Portal is their IP.
Yeah, I wonder. I hope that's an asset that stays in the game. I mean, it's kind of a beautiful callback to one of the iconic games, really, of recent times, really modern times, I would say. It's fair to say for Portal. The game definitely is a bit of a lull right now. Definitely probably the next key objective is going to be buffs spawning in 1 minute. Warpstone picked up by Taz. That'll assist him in getting the rundown set up for the Baroness Hotel on some of these more mobile flankers. And it feels like the Doorman has really changed the game, especially for Obakim and Vrake, where the punish now is so much more consistent on them. When they come in deep, they try to pull some attention, set up a team fight, and you can get locked up in the Baroness Hotel and just finished off on your way out.
Tentative stuff for buff enjoyers, since that rejuve fight, but they've managed to keep the deficit pretty reasonable, all things considered. And given the fact that Abrahams didn't take away that left side walker, the fact that they've still got a walker up as well is a win.
Drifter.
Lasso's fully maxed out here for Vrake. Comeback kills. Definitely what the doctor ordered. Movement buff for Listic. Not sure that means much of anything, but I don't know that the spirit buff for Billy is that nice either. I guess the cooldown reduction could be helpful. Urn's getting pretty valuable, though. That's 2,400 souls on this Urn. I mean, that's more farm than you get just about anywhere else on the map. And the stage is set for Together to just beeline it straight to the drop-off. And this is going to be kind of a test for Buff and George is, do you have the confidence to come out on the map and stop it? It really does feel like Urn now, if you get the pickup, you're like 90% going to get the dunk off of it. So maybe teams had to be really aware of giving those pickups up, considering it's just quite the soul bank donation to the team that secures it. 7 is going to deny a good portion of these, but still, for the most part, they go the way it together.
Yeah, just keeping things very, very tentative. You know, the mid boss not too far away. You definitely don't want to give away any picks here. You've got to be very, very careful about when you decide to invest into a team fight. And here we go. We got a chase down.
Oh my,
and the birds are insane. Empty Dreams has been so good on Talon all day.
I mean, he's getting like overstacked now on GT. He's getting like pre-patch spirit. Like that was, I think, 1,000+ damage on the execute. Now a chain gang connects onto Cosmetical. They want to add more onto this kill streak. Billy, though, takes some big shots back the other way. Has to think better about this chase down. Does get lassoed, but crazy heals come through, and the parries, the cube on top to ensure the safety. Billy's going to be back up and healthy in this fight. Saint working overtime on Viscous to keep the team stable. A Storm Cloud thrown out from Zergy, trying to just zone players away, but Abraham's working around it, still picking off players on the extremities. Nobody's looking at Zergy. The damage, yes, it's real, but where's the follow-up? Where are the kills? They do not seem to be coming here for Buffingers, and Zergy has to maybe float back over the roof and just try to stay alive.
This is really, really a dangerous place. Rift is coming up as well on the right side of the map. Oh my god, and like 4 players on your team are actually dead. There's no way to respond to this.
It's free, right? And I mean, this is where Rifts get scary, right? Those scaling troopers are going to be a huge threat. I will say on Abraham's, downside for them is they are all so low. Even Sonya capping this really wants a base reset in the near future here. He does have that spiritual overflow by ready, which things start to get scary. I mean, this item gives an insane amount of spirit, lifesteal, rate of fire, really everything that Furnace could ask for. Attempt here being made to try and kill GT, who just barely slips away. He needs the assist from both supports, both Taz and Saint, coming together to ensure he stays alive. He's going to respond with the bird. Execution feels very realistic here. Splits the wickets nicely, gets a good connection, and will grab a stack, and it's another kill onto the Vendor, who just cannot seem to stay alive in this fight. Can't say the same about Arzo, still sitting on that health swap, confidently charging forward and gets the finish onto Cosmetical as well. Buffingers starting to feel the limit in this game. The Super Troopers putting some serious work in on the base Guardians.
I know that Cosmetical has an insane great talent, but I kind of feel like Empty Dreams is just too insane. Like the amount of bird kills this game has been unreal, totally unreal. And right now, Sanya Sniper, very, very powerful, has picked up that huge item. Escalating is next. This is a very dangerous time for Buff Enjoyers right now, because all the way is crashing against them. No map control. And mid boss is just totally doable right now.
Obikim, though, doing nicely to kind of dance around that fight. It does take the Italio Hassan for him to get out of trouble, which means that ability is not going to be available to contest this mid boss. There's some reasonably damaged players on the side of Abraham's, but crucially, Arzo and Together, the frontliners for this team, still healthy, still alive. Taz takes some big hits on Doorman, though, and there is definitely a case to be made for Buffingers. Feels like they have to contest this. The curse trap on the pit so valuable, but with that unstop coming in, they're going to go for the contest. The Infernal Assault hits on many. The Great Talent Bird comes in. Zergy's already out of this fight. One of the most farmed members here on Buffingers. Not going to be able to contribute, and Abraham's making hay out of it. Rejuves all off the deck, but in the end, the fight seems to go the way of Abraham. Still a lot of stragglers on the Buffingers side. Crucially, Cosmetical still has that execute if he wants to commit down into this fight, but he could be risking the game to do so.
Yeah, it's only looking quite sketchy now, there's no doubt. Buff Enjoyers, they've got nothing left. Obikim and Vrake, routed. And right now, everything that needed to be done for Abrahams to secure this game surely has been done. They could probably use a base reset. They've got plenty of time if they want to go for it, but we're going to get a quick look here on the side of the screen at that hero damage. And it's just no surprise that Empty Dreams has been just pumping damage. It's kind of crazy.
These shrines are going down. Minimum one, but I suspect both. Even without the regives, it's just Vrake stands alone trying to make a defense. Not without even lasso, there's just nothing Holiday can do in this spot other than throw a few wayward barrels. In this case, even provides the jump pad to get Arzo into the next siege push a little bit quicker. And if Abrahams can get out of this fight, just getting both shrines and a walker simultaneously, getting out with their lives, this game starts to feel really hopeless here for Buff Enjoyers. Taz even sticking around. May be able to grab this walker, but even if he can't, it just doesn't seem to matter for me. Damage is done, and the door range is crazy. I mean, he's back on his own safe camps here.
Kind of unbelievable when you think about it, that the left Walker is still alive for buff enjoyers. They've lost both shrines, but hey, that Walker is still standing.
Boundless buy is going to hurt like bad here for Doorman. I'm interested he doesn't go Spirit Burn. It's actually Saint who's going to pick up that item. Spirit Burn on Viscous. When you start to scale into it, it is insane. It's so easy to proc from very long range, and it's a very real problem, especially for some of these more sustain-oriented heroes like Zergy with his lifesteal, Cosmetical on Shiv that want to kind of tank through things. The Spirit Burn, when that hits, man, you don't need much more to finish off a kill. And Boundless, he's got plus 80. We need to actually tab check the Great Talent Spirit count when he buys Boundless. This is going to be monstrous. I mean, this hero has like the most ridiculous spirit numbers you can get in the game. What's Boundless is bought, get that plus %. It does work on the permanent stacks.
Plus 80, 10
so
bird
it's
kills.
Plus 80 plus, what is Boundless? What's the percentage it gives you? Is it 15?
The crazy thing is, before this patch, he would have had plus 100. It's so crazy.
Yeah, right? Plus 100. That might be like a record. I don't know if you've seen that. So plus 15%. If we mouse over the whatchamacallit, the spirit bar in the bottom left, we'll be able to see his raw spirit power number. Pure dopamine.
Charging.
What is it? 298. And that's, he hasn't even maxed out yet. He's got this gun investment. Like the next couple buys that get him towards those final spirit power investments, I think he's going to be hitting like maybe close to 400 if this game even goes late enough for him to get to full build. And oh no, oh, D-Mob caught again by the bird, and it feels like the stack's coming in. Is the damage there in time?
Oh, he's an
but the kills
assassin.
come in. And this looks so rough. Sonya is down though, and Zergy Stormclouding zones a lot of players back. It's the best fight we've seen in a while here. 4v4 on the field, and the rest of Buffalo are still healthy, so they're getting something, a little bite out of this one.
Yeah, Zergy creating opportunities, zoning players away, but they've taken refuge in these corridors, able to be safe from the Stormcloud, and it's still very problematic here. Buff enjoys 3 players down to get a kind of low here, but playing behind his teammates pretty effectively, and the chase down, the damage output is just too savage. Right there, Great Talon is dishing it out and has been all game. Empty Dreams with such a phenomenal performance here as the first patron is finally dropped.
Yeah, I mean, he has been working overtime on the GT. It feels so hard to catch with the assists from Saint and Taz to keep him alive. And then it feels like every single owl that comes out for the last few minutes has just been a guaranteed kill. I mean, with this level of spirit power, I think that owl is hitting for, 1,500 spirit damage. I mean, that is devastating for the opponent. We were talking about the shred, the spirit threat from Bum Enjoyers, but so far this game, it's really been Abrahams who's been the huge threat in that regard. They're also about to claim seemingly a rift. I think the contest is coming for Buff Enjoyers. They recognize maybe this is not something they can afford to give up at this moment, especially with GT not in this fight, has to throw the bird in, and Buff Enjoyers with the comeback resist are going to be able to get the rift and a powerful comeback dunk. So mitigating potentially a game-threatening push. MGM is also going very deep, but the backdoor protection still on for this Walker. If you get a counter kill on him here, it would be incredibly valuable. There's no support to be seen, and Shiv is assisting on this rundown. This should be an easy kill now. And the finish is found. I think that's not worth it all for Empty Dreams. Yes, you get a Walker, but at this phase of the game, GT down for 90 seconds is a way back in for Buff Enjoyers. This has felt so brutal for so long, but finally they have a genuine new lease on life.
Yeah, mid-boss is up in 30 seconds, so Empty Dreams will still be dead. That could be a moment of complacency that could absolutely cost them a 20k difference. I mean, Buff Enjoyers, they've done a great job in keeping that difference marginal. And especially at this time of the game, I mean, 20k souls, it's not an enormous difference in terms of what that actually gets you in fighting power. And so right now, Buff Enjoyers, all they have to do is engineer the correct mid-boss fight, and they still can absolutely win this game.
Taz has been such a thorn in their side, though, as the doorman threatening the mid-boss. They still have that mid-walker, so they can door straight from the mid-walker into the pit. And that value alone has been massive. The counterspell crucial actually there for Listic, because those call bells hurt. You do not want to take all that heavy damage. A little bit of an awkward move off the pad, though, means it's a comfortable spirit buff picked up for Doorman. Drifter ult is out. Maybe Vrake can find something off the back of this. Needs a lasso connect. Is going to find the Viscous, but not before the roll comes out. A little bit of resist coming in, but Saint still pulled in way too deep. And even that roll, not enough tankiness to secure the fight. Abraham's throwing players in, just desperately trying to stay relevant around the mid-boss area. Buffingers considering a contest on it. Haven't committed just yet, though.
Yeah, that final Viscous, that was what they're looking for. Empty Dreams is coming back up, though. He is spawned, and so maybe enough time has been bought, but still doesn't change the fact that it's a 6v5. Buff and Joy is still with the best opportunity that they've had to maybe find a way back into this, but win or lose, the mid-boss is the result here for the team that comes on the better ends. And right now, Abraham's in position. Again, just trying to zone away Buff and Joys from that mid-boss.
D-Mob's locked up in the Baroness. I think he's going to be okay as he comes out of it, still in comfortably safe territory. Here comes the Scourge. Shiv going to be committing heavily all in here. Can the connection come through? It is good. Cosmetical goes down. Sanya finding more kills in this fight. Flame Dash so challenging for players to fight through. D-Mob and Zergy just too low to come into the engagement, and the base crashing against them. The downside of losing those shrines really being felt in this fight. The carries have to go back. They cannot stick around. Maybe they can clear this in time to come back, but it doesn't look like it. Once the rest of the team comes in, this mid-boss drops fast.
Yeah, it was maybe the best chance gone now for Buff and Joys. Fresh rejuves for 3 players. And I mean, the patron was already dropped here, so just one good push is all that's necessary. One successful siege.
Oh, is it?
Uh-oh.
I see the enemy.
This is gonna get awkward. He's getting CC'd so brutally, and here comes GT to maybe finish things off. The counterspell is out. It's just not even close to enough. What a find from Taz. And honestly, Dan, I think that's game. Arzo forcing the fight. Bovengers has to fight this down massive numbers. Zergy with the refresher ultimate over the top. Maybe able to claim a couple of these rejuves away. Incredible defensive utility from the ridiculous AoE on this 7-ult. Is seriously slowing the push for Abrahams, but they have a lot of time to work with. Oh, and he's caught too. He's dropped to the low ground. Can't even get any more value out of the fight, and that will be it, man. All she wrote. Abrahams, what a battle from them. Some ridiculous rejuve contests off the back of the Taz Doorman to come back in this fight and win over Buff Enjoyers, reclaiming the throne for the first time in over a month. Abrahams back on top of Europe. Buff Enjoyers have to retreat, lick their wounds, and come back as a challenger next week.
Definitely didn't feel easy, though, necessarily for Abrahams, even in that game alone. I mean, game 1, yeah, I mean, let's be honest, that was super easy for them, but obviously we saw Buff Enjoyers fight back in map 2. And in game 3 here, off the back of Empty Dreams Grey Talon, I have to say, man, was that ridiculous amount of stacks, plus 80 on his bird alone. You know, I talked a lot about Cosmetical being the star and pretty much the only star of Grey Talon when it comes to EU, but man, Empty Dreams is making me rethink my thoughts here. Definitely a pivotal pillar, I should say, of the team here to secure this victory, Dan. And honestly, if you didn't have him on GT, I don't know if they necessarily would have won that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's always hard because there's so many pivotal players that really, played into these moments. I think, like Jake highlighted, Taz on the Doorman, absolutely, pivotal for that very key mid-boss fight that turned the game around. But I mean, did they even get to that point without the consistent output? The amount of consistent kills from the bird. I mean, of course, 80 is 8 per stack now. So yeah, that's 10 kills just from the bird. It was incredible because when we saw the flight of the bird, there's so much skill involved in having the awareness as you're piloting the bird to ensure that you actually find these kills. It's very challenging to be this good, and we did see that level of performance, even though the previous map was lost. When Empty Dreams was on Grey Talon, he still had a huge impact in terms of the play. So I totally agree with you. I think Empty Dreams really is, he feels like the GOAT off of 2 matches. It's just too clean.
Yeah, Jake, I mean, we talked about before, it's not easy necessarily to fit a GT into your team and make it work. You have to play around it, and play around it they definitely did. Tass, though, we talked about him on Bebop quite a bit. This time going to be on Doorman. What was your thoughts on how he played?
I mean, the Doorman, I feel like it maybe got deprioritized in the drafts in these games, like only coming through in game 3 and kind of I think it was banned out in the second phase once or maybe twice. And, it started to feel from Taz, like especially that fight they're able to win where Zergy has unstopped 7-ult.
Yep.
It feels like you should never be able to win into that when he has that kind of a lead. And yet they come away from that first Reju fight with all 3 crystals, despite having a terrible position to enter into this. So for me, Doorman looks as good as ever, and maybe teams need to kind of bring him back to the first ban status. Taz heavily punishes the opponents in this one.
Yeah, and I think that was obviously a big turning point for them too, to kind of solidify the lead that they had, because Buff Enjoyers had every opportunity to lock that one down, but just fell too far behind. But one more player and one more hero in particular I want to talk about here is kind of the Geist. And I know, Dan, you were talking about it quite a bit, and a lot of farm. I want to get your take on how you feel like Arzo performed here on the guys, because he finished off with 53,000 souls, so farming was definitely there. I know Jake talked about when it comes to like a Geist versus a 7 in a head-to-head match, yeah, 7 can farm faster, but it's still going to favor the Geist.
Yeah, I think Abraham's, they managed to create all this space. I think it was another one of those cases of silent Geist. There weren't very many moments when you're like, oh wow, Geist is kind of in the mix doing a lot of damage, except there was one really, really key moment where you had the guys on Arzo and together just like fighting and surviving around the rift. That wasn't actually a rift that was favorable for Abraham's initially, but because of the ability to just stay alive for so long, buying time for together to die and come back into the fight at the nick of time, they managed to secure that rift, and that was pretty pivotal as well.
We can see here, speaking of pivotal, 62,000 damage being done by Empty Dreams, 14 kills, and it almost felt like those 14 kills were all bird kills. But also an unsung hero here, Jake, coming through yet again, and once again, every single time we see it, Saint on the Viscous. 3 deaths, 29 assists.
Yeah, a lot of clutch saves from him in this game in particular, right? There's a lot of those moments where the cube, the rescue beam, they're able to turn the tide of battle. Also, I mean, the utility item is able to be bought up on the Viscous. Like, it feels like that early decay puts so much pressure on the map. The knockdown, so crucial. Forces 7 to always pop the unstop if he wants to get ulti value. And just puts a lot of pressure on the opponents constantly and keeps the deaths so low. You see that across the board. I feel like Abrahams did a great job in this game, not only with their early lead, but also as we got later and later into the match of playing with each other, like not giving up free kills. If somebody does go down to a pick off from Vrake, Obukim, or Listic, there's always a punish because Abrahams are always there supporting one another. And it felt like in this series in particular, their experience as a team playing together, playing deep into those challenging games was tested, but it passed, right? They were able to come through those moments where it felt like, hey, maybe Buff and Joyers had turned the corner. The team play was what made the difference. So hats off to Abrahams. They've always been such a solid team. Maybe they catch a lucky break this week with Buff and Joyers needing a sub. I mean, as good as Demov is, he's subbing in for Hoot. There's not like a major quality difference between those two players. And anytime you have a sub, it's always going to kind of mess with the team chemistry. So Abrahams win this week, but it's by the skin of their teeth. It's 2-1 in the series where, despite the kill score, Game 3 really could have gone the other way with just a couple of team fights having a different result.
I think if you ask them with how many weeks in a row they've lost to Buff and Joyers, they're going to take it. I mean, R1 tournament over the weekend, into win here in the night shift, back-to-back wins, really solidifying that they're the number 2, now number 1 team in EU, and are always a team that has come close to beating Buff and Joyers in the past. But it is time for us, gentlemen, to figure out who our MVP of that game is going to be. I saw some people in chat saying, I wonder who our MVP is going to be, in a very sarcastic way. And I think it's kind of obvious who we think it's going to be, right, gentlemen?
I mean, there were like Empty Dreams on that Game 3, right, with the great talent. That makes a very, very solid case. It's one of the best GT performances we've seen, I think, all month. However, I think across the board, there's a lot of really solid performances from Abrahams this game. So I don't think it's quite as easy as people make it out to be, but we'll have to see what production ended up going with.
Yeah, I'm not really sure who they ended up going with. I see a couple of names as we post in this one, and we'll just let them surprise us with it. But Dan, who would you give your MVP to if you had the choice, ignoring production?
Yeah, I mean, it is really challenging because, I mean, of course, like Together was on pace. We had like the crazy shift moments. But when it came down to it, obviously, in terms of like the game-winning performance, and you have to pick one person, I feel like it kind of has to be Empty Dreams. I think we've already talked about him quite a lot, but just the performance was so extremely impactful. Getting all those executions, having all that presence with the bird was extremely powerful. And again, like everybody did a great work on the entire team. But Empty Dreams, I feel like it's his day today. Oh,
it's okay. We can have our individual MVPs, and I don't think you're wrong saying Empty Dreams either. I think there was 2 MVP-worthy title contenders here with Arzo and Empty Dreams.
I'd even throw a third into the mix. I think Taz had a fantastic day. I mean, I think Game 3, I would argue that the Doorman, just some of those key plays around mid, maybe had more individual sort of like game impact than anyone else. But I think Arzo, for me, was the most stable. Like when I see a carry performance this stable where completely rock solid on the Wraith, delivers a beatdown in Game 1 that, I mean, really puts Buff and Joyers on their heels. And then again in Game 3, I think it is this fight actually, right? He's the one man holding it down, and I think in like a 1v4 for quite some time until Together can get back in on the Billy. Like if this fight goes the other way, if at any moment really Arzo had dropped the ball and lost some of the momentum in the carry role, we would have seen a very different result. But instead, he's constantly bullying the opposition, and this Game 3 stability on Geist was the standard bearer, the one to kind of keep the game in a stable, winnable position, even while Buffingers were hitting their timings and having these big fights with the 7 ult. A lot of credit has to be given. Geist is like, people joke as Geist is like the boringest hero in Deadlock, which I kind of agree with. But in this level of play, you want someone who's completely rock solid on the carry. You're going to give them this much resource, this much space to farm. They need to deliver. They need to never go down in a bad death. And Arzo did exactly that today.
You know what, Jake? I'm going to be even crazier. I'm going to say there's a 4th MVP. I'm going to say it's Saint on the Rem, on the Viscous.
Fair.
But there's not going to be a 5th and 6th together in Sonya. I'm sorry. No MVP performance out of you guys. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, that is kind of the strength of this team. Just like Buffingers, there are individuals who can step up at any given point and really become an MVP for the team and put on the MVP performance they need to secure their own victories. But let's take a look quickly at the brackets, because we are done with EU, but we're not done with the show. We still have North America to come up next year, and it is a rematch across the board, at least for now. We'll see if things are going to change up in the finals match, with Melee Creeps taking on Bird with Clock here in our challenger match, who had to go through Get Candy with that awesome little pupper holding a lollipop. And then, of course, the winner of this one's going to go up against FPS Lounge. We need more dog logos we were discussing before here early on in the show. But before we do head to a break, before we do get things ready for North America, we do have a new Patreon supporter at the $100 tier, Korsaka, who I saw in chat saying, I wonder who the MVP is going to be. Coming in big with the $100 support. Again, for all of you out there, whether it is the $250, $100, or even $5, or even if you can't support us via money here on Patreon, we appreciate all the support you guys give us week in and week out, as it really helps us. What does it help us do? I mean, obviously helps us put on the show, but it really like reinvigorates us to see how many people enjoy seeing the show put on every week and how much the players enjoy having your support as well. So again, big thank you to all of you. And of course, Korsaka here for getting that $100 night shift executive position. But that is going to round out our EU portion of the show. We do have North America to come up next, but of course, before we can get into North America, we do have to head to a break, but we're coming back fresh. We're coming back looking good, and probably one of us with the crazy looking shirt. It's going to be Uber and ZP to bring you those games, and we'll see you all on the other side of this break.